Chapter 305. Holly turned a blind eye to everything around him. He aimed the gun at Su Yinqian, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. In the end, he suddenly turned the gun and pointed it at Paul. He said coldly, "If you don't want to go back with me, I'll kill him and tie you up." "No, don't kill me. Miss Shui, please go back with him." Paul immediately turned into a different person and raised his hands. Su Yinqian was extremely disappointed. She didn't expect Paul to be such a man. If it was Holly, he definitely wouldn't be so irresponsible. She only remembered his good points now. She said indifferently, "Don't kill him." Holly reached out a hand and stared at her with his deep eyes. "Come to my side." Su Yinqian shook her head slowly. "I won't go over, Holly. Actually, I've never loved you. I've always been using you. I wanted to use your power to snatch Bailey Han. Until now, my heart still only has Bailey Han." "No, shut up." Holly was already burning with anger. Her words were like adding fuel to the fire. The name Bailey Han was like a curse that broke the last bit of rationality in his mind. He angrily pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet flew towards Paul's chest. Su Yinqian suddenly flew in front of Paul. The bullet shot into her chest at an extremely fast speed. A hole was opened in her chest, and blood flowed out of it. Holly was stunned as if he was struck by lightning. Her body slowly slid down. "Ruyan." Paul growled and hugged her. He was terrified. "Ruyan, why did you do this?" She didn't know why either. Perhaps she just suddenly wanted to be a good person. Yinqian. Holly rushed forward and snatched her from Paul's arms. He carried her and ran out of the airport in panic. He kept saying, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid. You'll be fine. Baby, you'll be fine." Su Yinqian looked up at his anxious face. Her eyes were covered with a layer of mist. She grabbed his arm and said very softly, "Holly, there's no need. It's too late. No, you'll be fine." Tears welled up in Holly's eyes. He hugged her and covered her bleeding chest with one hand. He begged, "Yinqian, please don't get hurt. I promise. Even if you want to leave me, I'll agree. Don't get hurt, don't get hurt. I won't leave. I won't leave anymore." Su Yinqian looked at his tear-streaked face in confusion. She said intermittently, "Actually, I lied to you. I don't love Bailey Han anymore. I love you. I love you so much, so much. Don't say anymore. Please don't say anymore. Taxi, taxi." Holly stood at the intersection with her, who was covered in blood. He waved his hand wildly in the wind. Finally, a taxi stopped in front of him. He carried her into the car and said, "Hospital." The driver was frightened by the blood on their bodies and immediately drove to the nearest hospital at the speed of an airplane. "Baby, it'll be fine. Hang in there. We'll get to the hospital soon." Holly covered her wound tightly. Tears rolled down her face. She smiled absent-mindedly and said intermittently, "Holly, I'm so lucky to have met you. In this life you spoil me. In the next life, I'll love you." "No, I don't want the next life. I want this life. Su Yinqian, I order you. Don't let anything happen to you. Don't give up. We still have children. I haven't proposed to you. How can you abandon me?" Holly held her hand tightly. His tone was fierce, but he couldn't stop the tears in his eyes. She twitched violently and coughed. Bright red blood flowed out of the corner of her mouth. "Holly, no matter what happens, you have to live well. Together with my share, together. No, I want you to live with me. Please hang in there." Holly held her hand tightly. With deep panic in his eyes, he shouted at the driver, "Faster, faster." Su Yinqian's eyes were flowing with tears. Her eyes were gradually losing focus. "Holly, when I die, send me back to China and apologize to my family for me." Her body gradually turned cold. Her fingers in his hand became stiff. Her eyes were also losing focus. She stopped breathing amidst his mournful cries. Holly hugged her and cried in grief. "Yinqian, how can you abandon me? You said that you would stay with me. You lying woman. Do you know that I love you? I love you so much." Unfortunately, she couldn't hear his call anymore. His tragic cries echoed in the narrow car. Even the driver in the front seat couldn't help but cry. The news of Su Yinqian's death finally reached the ears of Xiaodong and the others. Once a person was dead, all the past events should be put aside. After some discussion, Xia Dong, Bailey Han, and Bai Tangshan finally decided to attend her funeral. The funeral parlor was very quiet. There were only a few people in it. Su Yinqian was wearing a beautiful wedding dress and lying in the coffin. She looked serene, as if she was just sleeping. Holly was wearing a black suit. He knelt in front of the coffin. He held her hand with a diamond ring in his hand and said in a solemn and low voice, "Yinqian, whether you like it or not, from today onwards, you are my wife. No matter if it's a blessing or a curse, illness or health, I will love and cherish you. Even death can't separate us." Watching him put the ring on Su Yinqian's finger, Xia Dong couldn't help but cry. She turned her head and couldn't bear to look. Bailey Han put his arm around her shoulder. After Holly put the ring on Su Yinqian's finger, he leaned over and kissed her lips gently. He murmured, "Yinqian, I love you." Heavy footsteps sounded. Paul's tall figure appeared at the door. He was wearing a black suit with a white chrysanthemum in his pocket. He looked very sad. He walked to Su Yinqian's coffin and slowly bowed. Holly suddenly jumped up and punched Paul's cheek. He roared, "Bastard, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have died." Paul was caught off guard and was knocked to the ground by Holly's punch. He covered his cheek in embarrassment. Holly didn't stop and rushed up again. Bailey Han and Mika Keto looked on coldly and didn't intend to stop him. Paul didn't have time to get up and was kicked hard again. Holly vented all his anger on Paul. He grabbed his collar with one hand and kicked him up from the ground. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched him hard on the head. "No, stop." Paul hurriedly grabbed his wrist. "You're the one who killed Ruyan. Do you know that she came to me because she was pregnant?" Holly suddenly stopped. After a while, he grabbed his collar tightly with both hands and said fiercely, "What did you say? Say it again." "I said, because she was pregnant and you didn't want the child. She came to me because she wanted to give the child a happy family." Paul was anxious and scared. He blurted out everything. "I don't believe you. You must be lying." Holly punched him hard on the nose. Paul's nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He was bleeding profusely. "Whether I'm lying or not, you can go to the hospital and ask the doctor. Holly, knowing that you killed your wife and child doesn't feel good, does it?" Paul grimaced in pain. He couldn't beat Holly in physical strength, so he used words to hurt him. "Shut up. I'm going to kill you." Holly kicked Paul to the ground and punched and kicked him. Bai Tangshan had seen enough. He reckoned that if they were to continue fighting, Paul would become a cripple. He waved his hand, and Vermilion Bird strode to Holly's back. Taking advantage of Holly not paying attention, Vermilion Bird struck the back of Holly's head. Holly, who had already lost his reason due to anger, fainted on the ground. Mika Keto said calmly, "Take him back." "Yes." Suzaku lifted Holly with one hand and carried him to the parking lot of the funeral parlor. She stuffed him into the car. Xia Dong watched as Suzaku's figure disappeared into the distance. She then glanced at Paul, who was lying on the ground covered in blood. She sighed. "Brother Shen, let's send him to the hospital. Someone will take care of him later. He won't die. Don't worry." Bai Tangshan walked to the front of Su Yinqian's coffin and slowly bowed. He faintly said, "Next time, learn what to do and what not to do." After he returned, Xia Dong and Bailey Han walked to the coffin and bowed. Bailey Han remained silent. Xia Dong pursed her lips and said, "Have a safe journey." Holly was dispirited. He had gone to the hospital where Su Yinqian had gone for a checkup. The doctor had said that she was indeed pregnant. During the operation, she had changed her mind at the last minute. He remembered that she had once asked him, "Do you like children?" She had even said, "How about we have a child?" How had he answered her? He had said that he didn't really like children. He had said that their current situation was not good, and that it was not suitable for them to have children. B****. He was really a B****. He had not suspected why she had suddenly mentioned children. Because of his answer, she must have mistakenly thought that he did not want to keep the child, and wanted to create a good environment for the child. That was why she had abandoned him and followed Paul. He had actually killed the woman he loved the most, and their child with his own hands. Holly screamed in the empty room. He punched the wall viciously with his fists. His hands were bleeding, but he refused to stop. Every day, he held Su Yunqian's urn in his arms and refused to let go. In just 3 days, he had become like a homeless man. He muttered, "Baby, you said that if you wanted to go home, I would send you home." Holly sold all his assets, bought a plane ticket, and flew to China. Come and see. Xingwu 799. Chapter 306. Sidier the Su family. The Su family welcomed a special guest. He was a foreigner wearing a black suit. His hair and beard had not been trimmed for a long time. He looked a little down and out. His eyes were empty and his face was expressionless. He looked like a puppet. He was Holly. Su Bolin looked at Holly, who was sitting on the sofa opposite him. He was holding a black box in his arms like it was a treasure. He was holding it tightly and it looked very strange. Su Bolin looked at him inquisitively and said in English, "Sir, you said you are my daughter's husband, but my daughter has passed away." Holly acted as if he did not hear him. His eyes were blank as if he was lost in his memories. He said slowly, "Yin Qian and I met in England. I helped her do a lot of wrong things. After her reputation in Sidier was ruined, she could not continue living here, so she asked me to help her. We faked her death, and she jumped into the sea to fake her death. I helped her create a fake identity and sent her to Korea for plastic surgery." When Su Bolin heard this, he shouted excitedly, "Wait, you said my daughter is not dead. Tell me, where is she now?" Holly did not answer him. Like a robot, he said mechanically, "We did a lot of wrong things again. Later, the matter was exposed. I was disinherited by my uncle and was chased out of the house. My financial situation was very poor. She never complained and always accompanied me. She was pregnant. She thought I did not want this child. So in order to protect the child and to create a good environment for the child, she planned to break up with me and be with another man." His hollow eyes gradually filled with sorrow, and his tone was also filled with sorrow. "I thought she had betrayed me. I held a gun and wanted to threaten her to return to my side. I shot at that man, and she stood in front of him. It was me. I killed my wife and child." Su Bolin finally calmed down from the pain of losing his daughter, who knew that a strange man would come to his door and tell him that his daughter was not dead. His heart was lit with hope, thinking that he could see his daughter again. However, that man quickly shattered his hope. Su Bolin was angry and sad. His finger trembled as he pointed at Holly's nose. His lips trembled, but he did not say a word for a long time. Holly expressionlessly placed the black box on the table. He slowly leaned forward and knelt in front of Su Bolin with his arms on the ground and his head on the floor. "Father-in-law, I'm here today to apologize to you. The first thing I'm sorry about is me. I'm sorry. I killed your daughter and grandson." His forehead hit the floor heavily, and it was already red and swollen. "Yinqian asked me to apologize to you. I'm sorry that I lied to you and mother and hurt your feelings." He knocked his forehead heavily on the ground again, and the floor was already stained with blood. "The third apology is from Yinqian and me. We're sorry that we let you and mother-in-law down." His forehead finally hit the floor, and he stayed there for a long time, unwilling to get up. Tears streamed down Su Bolin's face. He held his chest with one hand and covered his eyes with the other. Tears slid down his face and rolled onto his clothes. "Honey, what's going on? Are you okay?" Mrs. Su came back from outside and saw the unusual scene in the living room. Holly did not look up. He was still kneeling on the ground like a statue. Su Bolin's shoulders trembled, and his right hand was still covering his eyes. No one answered Mrs. Su's question. She was a bit uneasy. She walked up to Su Bolin and pushed his shoulder. "Honey, what's wrong?" Su Bolin could no longer control himself and finally burst into tears. Mrs. Su had never seen her husband lose his composure like this. She quickly pulled out a tissue and wiped his tears. She panicked and said, "Honey, what's going on? Say something. Do you want me to die from anxiety?" Su Bolin shook his head. He was so emotional that he could not say a complete sentence. Mrs. Su was anxious and worried. She was not in the mood to ask why a foreign man was kneeling in front of her husband, patting his back and comforting him softly. After a long time, he finally calmed down. Su Bolin looked at Holly, who was still kneeling in front of him, and waved his hand sadly. You can go. I don't want to see you for the time being. Holly quietly turned to face Mrs. Su and kowtowed. Mrs. Su was shocked. She quickly went forward to help him up. What are you doing? Get up. Su Bolin suddenly shouted. Don't worry about him. Let him kowtow. Mrs. Su was so scared that she retracted her hand. She stood there, not knowing what to do. Holly kowtowed 2 more times. When he stood up, his forehead was covered in blood. He looked at the small black box on the table, turned around, and walked to the door. Mrs. Su called out to his back. Sir, is the wound on your head okay? Holly did not stop. As if he did not hear her question, he walked out of their sight step by step. Honey, what's going on? Mrs. Su was confused. Su Bolin shook his head. His voice was hoarse. It's nothing. You can go upstairs first. I want to be alone. He slowly closed his eyes. He did not want to say anything more. Mrs. Su hesitated for a moment. Seeing that her husband seemed tired, she did not ask any more questions. She looked at him worriedly and walked upstairs. After hearing the footsteps disappear, Su Bolin slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was locked on the black box that Holly brought. He had already guessed what was inside. He reached out his trembling hand and took Su Yinqian's urn. He held it tightly in his arms. Murky tears poured out again. He stroked the urn with one hand as if he was stroking his daughter's hair. He choked with sobs. Yinqian, my silly daughter. Why did you choose such a path? Su Bolin could not control his emotions. He punched the back of the chair with his fist. Mrs. Su did not go far. She was eavesdropping at the corner of the stairs. She heard her husband's suppressed sobs. She quietly poked her head out and saw him holding the black box with tears streaming down his face. She did not understand what was going on. Why was her husband holding the box and calling her daughter's name? Yinqian, how could you bear to let a white-haired person die before a black-haired person? Su Bolin covered his face with one hand and held the urn tightly with the other. The confusion in Mrs. Su's heart was like a snowball, rolling bigger and bigger. Moreover, her husband's sadness infected her, and she couldn't help but tear up. She quietly went downstairs, walked behind him, and called out, Hubby! Su Bolin trembled. His hands trembled, and the urn almost fell. He hurriedly held it with both hands and raised his teary face to look at his wife. Honey, what's inside? Mrs. Su was confused when she saw her husband so worried about the black box. Su Bolin wiped the tears from his face and said in a displeased tone, Nothing. Didn't I tell you to go upstairs? Why did you come down again? Honey, are you hiding something from me? Mrs. Su walked in front of him. Let me see what's inside. Huilan, what's wrong with you today? Hurry up and go upstairs. The more Su Bolin tried to hide it, the more flustered he became. He held the urn even tighter. You're acting strange today too. I'm your wife. What can't you tell me? Mrs. Su stubbornly held the urn tightly with both hands. As the two argued, the urn fell to the ground with a bang, and the ashes inside spilled all over the floor. Mrs. Su was stunned. The ashes on the floor looked like. Just as a thought popped up in her mind, before she could confirm it, the furious Su Bolin almost subconsciously raised his hand and slapped her across the face. This slap shocked both of them. You hit me. Mrs. Su covered her face and cried. Su Bolin loved his wife very much and had never hit her before. He panicked and wanted to go forward to check on her injuries, but she pushed him away. She angrily pointed at the floor and roared. Su Bolin, you have to tell me what happened. Otherwise I'll divorce you. Su Bolin originally wanted to hide it from his wife and son, so that they wouldn't be tortured again. However, his wife insisted on getting to the bottom of it. Seeing that he couldn't hide it anymore, he had to tell them the truth. Mrs. Su couldn't take the blow and fainted on the spot. Su Bolin hurriedly called the servants and rushed her to the hospital. Su Jin heard the news and rushed over from the company. He anxiously asked, Dad, what happened? Why did Mom have a high blood pressure attack? Su Bolin was already exhausted, so he spilled the beans. Su Jin staggered a few steps and sat down on the bench in the hospital corridor. His mind was in a mess and was about to explode. The father and son were silent for a long time. More than an hour later, Mrs. Su woke up. The first thing she wanted was to see her daughter's ashes. Su Bolin had already ordered the servants to clean up all the ashes in the living room into the urn. At this time, he also asked the servants to send the urn to the hospital. Mrs. Su hugged the urn and cried bitterly. She almost fainted several times. In the end, Su Jinan couldn't stand it and asked the doctor to inject her with a tranquilizer. "Dad, how can I find that man?" Su Jinan's face was livid. His eyes were full of hatred and his fists were clenched. He couldn't wait to find Holly and tear him apart. "I don't know." When Holly left, Su Bolin was still sad and didn't have time to ask him. The Su family thought that they would never see Holly again. Unexpectedly, the next morning, as soon as they opened the door, they saw a blond man kneeling at the door. His head was buried deep and his movements were as humble as the mud. Su Jinan didn't need to ask to guess who he was. He rushed in front of him and grabbed him by the collar. He dragged him up from the ground and punched him in the face. "You bastard, how dare you show up again? I'm going to kill you." Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 307. Su Jinan punched and kicked Holly. Holly didn't fight back at all. Like a puppet, he let Su Jinan drag him up, beat him up and kick him out. His hair was messy, his face was covered in blood, and his clothes were torn. Enough! Su Bolin finally couldn't stand it anymore and grabbed the furious Su Jinan. "Dad, don't hold me back. Let me kill him." Su Jinan was like an angry lion, struggling with all his might. "What can you do if you kill him? Can you save Yunqian's life? If you kill him, you'll have to go to jail." Su Bolin was not as strong as Su Jinan. Sweat came out of his forehead as he roared with all his might. "I want him to pay for Yunqian's life." Su Jinan had lost his mind. He broke free from his father's hand and was about to go forward again. Mrs. Su rushed over and hugged Su Jinan from behind. She cried and said, "Jinan, your father is right. We've already lost Yunqian. We can't lose you too. Don't hit him. Mom begs you." Su Jinan's body shook and his movements gradually stopped. Su Bolin glanced at Holly, who was lying on the ground motionless. He called a servant and sent him to the hospital. Holly's appearance was like a bomb that blew up the pain hidden deep in the Su family's heart. It took a long time for them to calm down. 2 days later, Holly's injuries were almost healed. He left the hospital without leaving a word. He returned to Rome. He didn't contact anyone. Holly went to the police station and admitted that he killed his wife. Since Su Yunqian's body had been cremated, there was no way to collect evidence. Holly didn't have any excuses, and even refused to hire a lawyer. The judge easily sentenced him to 10 years in prison. In fact, Tomac already knew the moment Holly stepped into the police station. He didn't stop him, nor did he put any pressure on the police. He let them sentence him to 10 years in prison. On the observation deck of the castle, Tomac and Mika Keto sat in chairs and looked into the distance. Mika Keto pursed her lips and said, "Godfather, have you ever regretted doing this?" Tomac's expression was indifferent, but his eyes were bleak. "Of course there is regret. I was too confident and thought that I could see through people's hearts. I was wrong. Su Yunqian's pregnancy is something I never expected. Actually, you don't have to blame yourself. If Paul hadn't concealed Su Yunqian's pregnancy..." Tomac raised his hand. "Ah Shun, you don't have to say anymore. I originally thought that Su Yunqian had no other feelings for Holly other than using her. That was why I asked Paul to get close to her on purpose to break them up. But I didn't expect that they really loved each other deeply." Tomac closed his eyes in pain. If Paul had told him the truth about Su Yunqian's pregnancy, perhaps he would have asked Paul to stop, and even helped them for the sake of the child. However, he didn't expect Paul to be selfish. He coveted Su Yunqian's beauty and wanted to trick her. Paul was partly responsible for Su Yunqian's death, so when Holly beat him up, Mika Keto didn't say anything to stop him. The two of them didn't speak again. After a long silence, Tomac slowly said, "I hope Holly can pull himself together soon. Don't you plan to help him?" 10 years was a very long time. Tomac sighed. "That depends on him. If he doesn't want to come out and wants to be depressed for the rest of his life, no one can help him." During the first 3 days of his sentence, Holly didn't eat or drink. He completely isolated himself from the outside world and refused to be visited by anyone. Holly's indifferent attitude angered the prison bully. When the prison bully asked around, he found out that Holly used to be the young master of a mafia family. His mentality was immediately twisted, and he planned to bully Holly until he bowed down to him. So on the fourth day, the prison bully ordered his subordinates to beat Holly up. Holly didn't fight back, nor did he beg for mercy. He lay on the dirty floor, barely breathing. In a daze, he seemed to see Su Yinqian waving at him. The prison guard whistled as he ran over. The prison bully kicked Holly's back and spat at his face. He taunted, "What kind of young master are you? You're still lying in front of me like a dead dog. Useless trash, like you should have been thrown into the trash long ago. You guys, what are you doing?" The prison bully ran over and pointed his stun baton at the prison bully and the others. The prison bully raised his hands, and the others followed suit. "Officer, we didn't do anything. You guys, if you cause any more trouble, I won't let you off." The prison bully scolded them fiercely. He called his colleagues over and carried Holly out of the cell. Holly's eyes were slightly open. The light on the dark ceiling was dazzling. He saw Su Yinqian getting closer and closer to him. He couldn't help but move closer to her. But every time he took a step forward, she would take a step back. No matter what, he couldn't touch her. He wanted to tell her that he loved her, that he missed her, that he couldn't leave her. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open his mouth. She retreated further and further with a warm smile on her face. She whispered, "Holly, no matter what happens, you have to live well. Together with my share, together. Together with my share, together." Her frail figure gradually disappeared, but the words she said remained clearly in his mind. He slowly moved his fingers. In a daze, he saw people in white coats moving in front of him and heard their conversation. "All right, it's okay. There's still a heartbeat. The prison bully and his gang are too arrogant. They should be suppressed. Otherwise, someone will die next time." After that, his eyelids became heavier and heavier. He couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. Holly was seriously injured this time. He was bedridden for a week. After his injuries healed, he seemed to have changed into a different person. Although he still didn't speak, he was no longer depressed. He was even more indifferent. His eyes were as cold as a lake, cold and emotionless. He ate seriously, exercised seriously, and studied seriously. After a week, he defeated the prison bully and his gang by himself, and became the new prison bully. A month later, Holly wrote 3 letters and sent them to Tomac, Mikakito, and Xiaodong. In the letter to Tomac, he said that after his parents passed away, he respected his uncle as if he was his biological father. He said that he was deeply sorry for letting down his uncle's expectations of him. He said that he would turn over a new leaf and become a better person. After reading the letter, Tomac's eyes were filled with tears. He contacted the prison on the same day, hoping that they could help reduce Holly's sentence. In the letter to Mikakito, there were only 2 short sentences. "Ashin, I used to treat you as a brother. Are you still willing to treat me as a brother?" Mikakito didn't reply to him. The letter to Xiaodong was the one Holly spent the most time on. He wrote a few sentences, but felt unsatisfied. He tore it up and rewrote it several times before he could finish it. "Xia, I hope that after all that has happened, you won't mind me calling you that. The first time I saw you, it was very cold. You were wearing a white cashmere coat and a woolen hat with 2 pom-poms hanging down. You had a bright smile, like the sun shining into the castle. At that time, I thought that I liked this girl with a clean smile, and I wanted to protect her. Later, I wanted too many things, and I felt the pressure from Ashin. He was very outstanding, and compared to him, I was like a piece of trash. I felt that I couldn't raise my head in front of him, and I was getting less and less valued by my uncle. I hated this feeling. 2 years ago, I overheard a conversation between my uncle and Ashin. I knew that my uncle was very dissatisfied with me and wanted to let Ashin take care of the family. I was angry and decided to take back what was mine. Since then, I have done many things to hurt Ashin. I knew that Ashin cared about you, so I didn't hesitate to use you to hurt him. I've long been blinded by my anger and desire to protect you. I've even forgotten the promise I made to protect you." Xia, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want to tell you that I really feel very guilty. If I had the chance to do it all over again, I would never hurt you again. I promised Xiao Guai that I would go to the hospital to visit her. Now I have to go back on my word. Please tell her that I love her. I have always wanted to have a daughter as cute as her. Also, I want to apologize to you on behalf of Yinxian. I'm sorry. Holly, thank you. Xia Dong sobbed after reading the letter. Her tears had already soaked the letter. Bailey Han held her tightly in his arms. If you want to see him, we can go visit him. 2 days later, their request for a visit was answered. Holly was willing to see them. They sat across from each other through the glass, each holding a walkie-talkie in their hands. Holly had lost a lot of weight. He looked at Xia Dong with a sincere smile on his lips. Xia, I didn't expect that you would be willing to see me. Xia Dong felt a lump in her throat. She smiled. Holly, Xiao Guai asked me to tell you that Ashen is her #1 godfather. You are her #2 godfather. She also said that if you don't want to, she will ignore you. Holly's eyes sparkled. He smiled and said, I'm willing. Although it's only #2, I'm willing. Xia Dong stared into his eyes and said slowly, Holly, the harm you have caused to our family is a foregone conclusion. I will not forgive you. Holly's expression darkened. He laughed self-deprecatingly. I know. I'm really sorry. So, Xia Dong continued, I want to punish you. I want you to be my older brother for the rest of your life. You want to protect me and love me. Holly was slightly stunned. His eyes quickly filled with surprise. He almost jumped up and said, I accept the punishment. Xia Dong saw that he was as surprised as a child and smiled. Holly, Ashen asked me to tell you something. Holly looked at her nervously. What is it? A powerful novel. Hongcha 866. Chapter 308. Xia Dong said slowly, Brother Shen said that he'll only forgive you this once. Holly was stunned. What does that mean? Xia Dong laughed and scolded. Idiot, it means that he forgives you, but only this once. If there's a next time, he'll chop you to death with a knife. Holly's eyes shone brighter and brighter. He trembled and turned his head to avoid Xia Dong's gaze. Something shiny rolled from his eyes to the ground. Xia Dong pretended not to see it and smiled brightly. Holly, Godfather also asked me to pass a message to you. Perform well and strive for a reduction in your sentence. Come out soon. Our whole family is waiting for you. Holly rubbed his nose and said in a hoarse voice, I will, Xia. Help me take care of Uncle. Okay. Holly performed very well in prison. With Tomac's help, his sentence was reduced 3 times in a row and his sentence was shortened from 10 years to 5 years. During his time in prison, he had been working hard to improve himself. Just as Tomac said, he had been reborn. After he was released from prison, Mika Keto handed over the management of the Dark Knight family to him. Holly became the greatest leader of the Italian mafia after Tomac. His only regret was that he was never married. These were all stories for later, so let's not talk about them for now. Before they knew it, it was already February. According to China's tradition, the Spring Festival was coming. Xiao Guai had recovered and Bailey Han decided to take his wife and child back to China to reunite with his family. Tomac had already handed over the management of the Dark Knight family to Mika Keto. Mika Keto had to live in Rome for a while. Bailey Han's family said goodbye to Tomac and Mika Keto and took a private jet back to a city. On the day they returned, it was very cold. Xia Dong and Xiao Guai had stayed in the warm Rome for too long. When they got off the plane, they were still a little uncomfortable and their cheeks were red from the cold. Bailey Han held Xiao Guai tightly in his arms, while Xia Dong held Hai. The family of 4 got into the Rolls-Royce that came to welcome them. The Rolls-Royce drove into Bailey's mansion. The butler and the servants stood in 2 rows at the gate and bowed respectfully. Welcome home, young master and madam. Hearing the uniform greeting, Old Madam, by Jinxiu, and the others had already rushed to the door of the living room. Old Madam's eyes were red and she said excitedly, It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. Xiao Yi and Xiao Bao stood beside Old Madam with their hands behind their backs like adults. They suppressed their joy and let the adults have the right to speak first. Grandma, Mom. Bailey Han put Xiao Guai on the ground and walked forward to hug old Madam. Grandma, we're back. Okay. Old Madam choked with sobs. Xia, come in. Don't catch a cold. Bai Jinxiu returned to China with her 2 little grandsons after taking care of Xia Dong in Rome. During her time in Rome, the relationship between her mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was very harmonious. She reached out and hugged Hai Hai in Xia Dong's arms. Let me see. Little Hai Hai has grown so big. Great-grandma, don't be sad. We're all back. You should be happy. Xiao Guai raised her pink little face and tugged at old Madam's fingers. Yes, Gigai is right. We should be happy. Old Madam smiled and wiped the corners of her eyes. She bent down and touched Xiao Guai's soft hair and smiled kindly. We haven't seen each other for more than half a year. Our Xiao Guai has grown prettier. Xiao Guai smiled brightly. Xiao Yi and Xiao Bao ran to her side and grabbed her little hands. Xiao Yi raised her little face and said, Great-grandma, Gigai's hands are so cold. Let's take her to the fireplace to warm her up. Okay, go quickly. Don't freeze. Old Madam knew that the 3 little guys must have a lot to talk about. So she smiled and waved her hand. The 3 little guys were sitting on the thick carpet in front of the fireplace, chatting happily and laughing from time to time. The 4 adults were sitting on the sofa not far behind them, talking about the recent events at home. The atmosphere was warm and harmonious. Big brother, sister-in-law, you're finally back. Boo-hoo. Knowing that Bailey Han and the others were back, Bailey Jing got off work early. As soon as she stepped into the living room, she ran to Bailey Han to complain. Xiao Jing, you're already a big girl. Why are you still so unruly? Bailey Han grabbed Bailey Jing's collar and pulled her off him, moving her to the sofa next to him. Bailey Jing's beautiful face scrunched up and she complained tearfully, half a year. It's been more than half a year. Big brother, if you didn't come back, I would have been driven to death by those old men on the board of directors. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows in amusement. Didn't you do well? I heard from Lu Zihao that you even negotiated a joint venture last month. Bailey Jing raised her finger and complained one by one. What's the use of just negotiating a joint venture? Those old men on the board of directors always use the excuse that I'm too inexperienced and too young to impeach me and kick me out. Also, they criticize me for coming to work too late and leaving too early. Hey, I'm only 10 minutes late and left 5 minutes early. Is there a need to criticize me like this? No matter what, I'm still the acting CEO. Also, they say that my clothes are too unconventional and not suitable for the company's atmosphere. Look, how am I unconventional? Do they have to force me to dress like a 50-year-old old woman? She stood up and struck a pose for Bailey Han and Xia Dong to see. Only then did Xia Dong notice that Bailey Jing was wearing a red low-cut woolen sweater, a knee-length black leather skirt, and a pair of 10-centimeter high leather boots. With her wavy hair, she looked very charming. Bailey Han obviously noticed it too and his face darkened. You're not allowed to wear clothes with such a low neckline. Bailey Jing snorted. But everyone says that I look very beautiful dressed like this. Also, I don't have a boss who specifically threw a pen on the ground and asked me to pick it up. Why can't I wear this? Xia Dong couldn't help but laugh. A boss who threw a pen on the ground and asked his sexy female subordinate to pick it up. She wondered if Bailey Han had done something like this before. She turned to look at Bailey Han and teased. Hubby, have you ever thrown a pen on the ground and asked your sexy female secretary to pick it up? Bailey Han's mouth twitched. Honey, how could I do such a vulgar thing? Yes. Xia Dong deliberately dragged out the last word. Her tone sounded like she was questioning his words. Bailey Han's face darkened. Honey, are you doubting me? Xia Dong held back her laughter. I heard that many CEOs like to flirt with their female subordinates, so I was just casually asking. I really didn't mean to doubt you. You're getting more and more ridiculous. What nonsense is in your head? Bailey Han reached out and knocked her forehead in annoyance. Hey, isn't that how it's written on TV and in novels? Also, it's written in the newspapers. Xia Dong held her forehead and winked at Bailey Jing. Bailey Jing understood and returned her a playful smile. She picked up her handbag and was ready to slip away. She had already slipped to the staircase and thought she was in a safe zone. Unexpectedly, Bailey Han suddenly said in a deep voice. Stop right there. Bailey Jing's face was bitter. She turned her head stiffly and laughed dryly. She pointed to the stairs. Big brother, I won't disturb you flirting with sister-in-law. I'll go upstairs first. Bailey Han's mouth twitched. Come here. Okay. Bailey Jing knew that her big brother was about to start giving her a political and ideological lesson. She moved in front of him reluctantly. Don't think that I don't know that your sister-in-law is covering for you. Bailey Han snorted with a sour expression. He pointed to the sofa opposite him. Sit down. Bailey Jing sat down with a bitter face. Big brother, you just came back and you're already lecturing me. Do you have to be so cruel? Bailey Han said indifferently. Who asked you to be so immature? As the CEO, your dressing will affect the company's image and your image in the hearts of the employees. Do you want to become the sexual fantasy of all the male employees? Xia Dong and Bailey Jing almost fell to the ground. How could he say those words with such a calm tone and expression? What? You have nothing to say? Bailey Jing was speechless. Big brother, you've already scared us. Xia Dong coughed and spoke up for Bailey Jing. Hubby, it's actually not as exaggerated as you say. You can't destroy everyone's personality just because it's the workplace. I think that Jing's dressing is quite beautiful. She's already very conscious of her limits. Although the woolen sweater was a low-cut design, it didn't expose any parts of her body that shouldn't be exposed. It only highlighted her exquisite collarbone. The leather skirt was also knee-length, so the matter wasn't as serious as Bailey Han said. Bailey Han stared at Xia Dong with a half-smile. So you think this is normal? Yes. Xia Dong nodded fearlessly. Very good, my dear wife. You've been stripped of your right to wear clothes of this standard. Bailey Han smiled and patted her head, like a big bad wolf that had succeeded in his evil plan. Xia Dong wanted to cry but had no tears. What was this? Why did she suddenly get the attention of the gunfire? Bailey Jing rushed over and hugged Xia Dong. Sister-in-law, I've implicated you. Xia Dong patted her back and suddenly became smart. It's okay. Actually, your big brother has been planning this for a long time. He just suddenly found an excuse today. Bailey Jing wiped her eyes and pretended to cry. Sister-in-law, I suddenly feel that we're living under the oppression of an old-fashioned old man. It's so stressful and so pitiful. Xia Dong sighed seriously. Xiao Jing, you've finally realized this problem. I'm very relieved because I've been oppressed for a long time. You too, don't treat me as if I'm dead. Bailey Han rubbed his throbbing temples. Speaking of being oppressed, why did he feel that he was the one being oppressed? Xia Dong and Bailey Jing covered their mouths and snickered. They had already been stripped of their right to wear low-cut clothes. Weren't they allowed to complain a little? The next day, Bailey Han and his wife took the 4 children to visit their aunt and uncle. Their aunt and uncle were very happy. The whole family ate and chatted happily. They were even more excited than when they were celebrating the new year. Their aunt warmly urged them to stay until they finished dinner. On the way home, Xia Dong was sitting in the front passenger seat with Hai in her arms. She suddenly received a strange text message. Beauty novel Songshu 566. Chapter 309. Xia Dong heard her phone ring. She opened it and saw a strange text message. I know the whole truth. She frowned and replied. Who are you? After a few seconds, the other party replied. Who I am is not important. What's important is that I know your secret. Xia Dong thought for a moment, and typed a line of words on her phone. What are you trying to say? Beep beep. Another text message came in. Xiaobao is not your son. Xia Dong's fingers suddenly tightened. Her body froze and her expression turned ugly. Because they were driving at night, Bailey Han paid more attention to safety. He focused all his attention on the road ahead and asked casually, who sent the message? A hint of panic flashed across Xia Dong's eyes. She said, it's Siki. Siki heard that I was back, and asked me to meet up. Yeah, you haven't seen each other in a long time. You must have a lot to talk about. Bailey Han smiled. Yeah, I don't know how she's doing now. I'm looking forward to meeting her too. Xia Dong replied to the text message as she spoke. Please don't talk nonsense. Xiaobao is my son. This time, the other party replied after about 10 minutes. Xiaobao is your adopted child. Xiaodong nervously hugged Hai tightly. She was worried that Bailey Han would find out that something was wrong, so she turned off her phone and ignored the mysterious stranger. However, the other party's words were like a stone thrown into the calm lake of her heart, causing ripples. Along the way, Xiaodong was restless. She had a bad feeling that her life, which had finally calmed down, was about to be disrupted again. Honey, we're home. Bailey Han opened the car door and took his daughter from her arms. Little Wingzy and his siblings had already jumped out of the back of the car and ran into the villa, chasing after each other. What's wrong? You seem to have something on your mind. Bailey Han glanced at Xiaodong. She lowered her head and looked at the road under her feet seriously. She was so quiet that it was abnormal. No, I was just thinking about where I should meet Siki since it's so cold now. Xiaodong looked thoughtful. Hubby, where do you think we should go? Bailey Han smiled. How about going to the hot springs? Just you and Yi Siki. She had always placed all her focus on the children, and rarely had the chance to relax or talk to her friends. He supported her to have her own social circle, so that she would not be bored. She smiled and nodded. Sounds good. You're smart. Bailey Han laughed. Go in quickly. It's cold outside. He moved his arm in her direction, and she naturally took his arm. At night, while Bailey Han was taking a shower, Xiaodong turned on her phone. There were no unread messages. She hesitated for a while and deleted all the messages sent by the mysterious stranger. For the next 2 days, she did not receive any more messages from that person. She comforted herself by thinking that maybe it was just a prank. In the cold winter, it was very comfortable to soak in the hot springs. Xiaodong and Yi Siki decided to go to the famous hot springs resort in the suburbs. Before leaving, Xiaodong put on a thick coat and held 2 scarves in her hands. Standing in front of the mirror, she did not know which one to wear. Bailey Han said gently with a smile, "Wear the red one. It matches the color of your coat. It's very beautiful." Xiaodong looked at Bailey Han's figure in the mirror. He crossed his arms and leaned leisurely against the door. There was a gentle smile on his handsome face. The corners of her lips curled up. As she tied the scarf, she said, "Are you really not coming with us?" He approached her and hugged her gently from behind. He bit her earlobe and said softly, "It's rare for you and Yi Siki to meet. Wouldn't I spoil your mood if I went? If you like, we can go to the hot springs together next time and spend a few days comfortably." Okay. She turned around and put her arms around his neck. She kissed him on the lips. "Hubby, you should go to the company today. Xiao Jing is getting calluses on my ears." From the first day Bailey Han returned to China, Bailey Jing wanted to return the Shenghao group to him as soon as possible. However, he refused to take over, and continued to live a leisurely life with his wife and children every day. Bailey Jing was so jealous that her eyes turned red. She took the opportunity to whisper in Xiaodong's ear, hoping that she would help her persuade her brother. "You and Xiao Jing are so close that it almost makes me jealous. I'm your husband. Why don't you feel sorry for me?" Bailey Han bit her lips as if punishing her. Xiaodong hugged him tightly. "You're my husband. Of course, I feel sorry for you. However, the Shenghao group is your hard work after all. You can't just ignore it, right?" "Silly, who said I'm ignoring it? Do you think Xiao Jing can reach an agreement with the European side with her fancy moves? Your husband is strategizing and winning from 1,000 miles away." Xiaodong's eyes widened in surprise. "Hubby, you're so amazing. Why haven't I seen you work before?" Bailey Han leaned against her neck and chuckled. "Because you sleep a lot every day. I just make use of the time you sleep." Why did this sentence sound so familiar? Xiaodong blinked and suddenly remembered that a great celebrity once said, "There's no such thing as a genius. I just use the time other people spend drinking coffee on work." "Hubby, you've worked hard to support our family," Xiaodong said seriously. Bailey Han rubbed her hair. "Since you know I've worked so hard, you have to make it up to me. When you come back tonight, I'm going to eat meat." "Hubby, don't suddenly change the topic." Moreover, it suddenly jumped to a restricted topic. Xiaodong puffed up her cheeks and her eyes were wet. She looked pitiful. Bailey Han pinched her cheek. Okay, I promise you. I'll go to the company early so that you can report to Xiaojing. Are you satisfied? Yes, yes. She nodded and inadvertently glanced at the clock. She exclaimed, oh no, it's getting late. I'm going to be late. Don't worry. Yisiki won't mind. No, I can't. We agreed to meet at the cafe, and then we'll go to the resort together in my car. She'll get anxious if we wait too long. Xiaodong hurriedly picked up his handbag and stuffed his phone, wallet and other belongings into it. I'll ask Old Chin to drive you there. Before you finish, call Old Chin in advance and ask him to pick you up. Bailey Han grabbed her arm and stopped her from leaving in a hurry. He held her hand and went downstairs. Then he called the chauffeur and gave him a few instructions. Hubby, I'm leaving. Okay, have fun. Call me if anything happens. Bailey Han helped her adjust her scarf, and then opened the car door for her. Go in quickly. It's too cold outside. Xiaodong rolled down the window and waved at Bailey Han. Bailey Han casually put his hands in his trouser pockets. He watched the car drive out of the gate of the manor before he turned around and went back. The car stopped outside the cafe. Xiaodong asked Old Chin to wait in the car. She walked into the cafe to look for Yisiki. When she saw Yisiki, she was shocked. Yezi, is this still you? Yisiki stood up and looked at her with a smile. Of course it's me. Come here, and let me give you a hug. Xiaodong approached her and gave her a bear hug. She couldn't help but touch her short hair. Why did you cut your hair? You even put on makeup and wore such beautiful clothes. I almost couldn't recognize you. Yisiki smiled and said, only you can become prettier, but I can't. Xiaodong looked her up and down. Not only did you become prettier, but you also lost a lot of weight. Did you lose weight? The smile on Yisiki's face faded, and there was an imperceptible sadness between her brows. Let's not talk about it. Let's hurry up and go. We can talk about it when we soak in the hot spring. That's true. Anyway, we have a whole day today. Xiaodong smiled and held her hand. Old Chin drove them to the hot spring resort in the suburbs. Bailey Han had already booked a room for them. The waiter led them to change their clothes, and they entered a semi-enclosed bathroom. The pool was steaming hot and foggy. There were some grotesquely shaped rockery beside the pool. A screen with classic China landscape paintings surrounded the pool. Looking past the screen, they could see lush trees and even hear the chirping of birds. The place was filled with the smell of nature. Xiaodong and Yisiki soaked in the hot spring. Their pores were relaxed and they sighed in comfort. Xiaodong glanced at Yisiki, who was leaning against the wall of the pool. Yezi, how have you been for the past 6 months? Yisiki closed her eyes and said calmly, we might have to get a divorce. Xiaodong's heart thumped. She stared at her face in disbelief. How did this happen? Is there really no turning back? Yisiki slowly opened her eyes and smiled faintly. There was an indescribable fatigue in her smile. I'm already tired. Maybe it's better for both of us to break up. Xiaodong moved closer to her. After hesitating for a long time, she asked, Yezi, do you still love him? So what if I do? Love can't withstand so much hurt. Yisiki's eyes were covered with a layer of mist. Xia, you don't know how tired I am. I'm really tired. It's okay, it's okay. Xiaodong hugged her. No matter what decision you make, I'll always support you. Don't forget, you still have me. Yisiki wiped the corners of her eyes. After a moment, she pushed Xiaodong away. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. We've almost seen each other naked, yet we're still hugging each other. It feels so weird. Xiaodong crossed her arms and put on a defensive expression. Don't you have any ideas about me? I'm already taken. Yisiki rolled her eyes. Don't be so disgusting. The two of them teased each other for a while. Yisiki glanced at her and said, You've cleared up all the misunderstandings. Bailey Han's family has already accepted you. It's time for the best. Xiaodong leaned back against the smooth wall of the pool. She looked a little absent-minded. I'm a little worried. I hope they don't find out about that. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 310. Yisiki looked puzzled. What else is there? Xiaodong pinched her forehead. Xiaobao's background. Yi Siqi's expression froze. After a while she said, there hasn't been any problems in the past 5 years, so there shouldn't be any problems in the future. Her tone was full of uncertainty. Xiaodong looked at the woods beyond the screen. A few days ago, a mysterious person sent me a text. He said that he knew that Xiaobao was my adopted child. I comforted myself by telling myself that it was just a prank. But, she suddenly turned her head and looked at Yi Siqi. She said slowly, besides the director of the orphanage, only you and brother should know about this. Obviously you wouldn't play such a prank on me. Yi Siqi frowned. Her voice was hoarse. What else did the mysterious person say? Xiaodong shook her head. After I switched off my phone, he stopped harassing me. I don't know who he is or what he wants to do, but I can't help but feel uneasy. We already have a peaceful life, so I don't want it to be disturbed by that incident. Yi Siqi thought for a moment. Have you ever thought of telling Bailey Han and his family the truth? I have, but I have my concerns. Firstly, I'm worried that I'll hurt Xiaobao's feelings. Secondly, I'm worried that Bailey's family won't dote on Xiaobao anymore after they find out the truth. Xiaodong rubbed her temples with her slender fingers. No matter how I think about it, Xiaobao will be the one who will be hurt the most. This is the outcome I don't want to see. Then what do you plan to do? I'll take it one step at a time. Let's see what the mysterious person wants to do first. He suddenly sent a few text messages, and then disappeared. Perhaps he's playing hard to get, and wants to force me into a corner. I have a feeling that he will contact me again. You can tell Bailey Han the truth and face this matter together with him. Yi Siqi sank into the bathtub. The warm water flowed over her neck, and the mist seemed to fill her eyes. Her eyes were wet. Xia, based on my experience, it's best to be honest with each other. Don't hide anything. Otherwise, when there's a crisis of trust between the two of you, there will be cracks in your relationship. Xiaodong followed her example and sank into the bathtub. Okay, I'll think about how I should tell him. She didn't know how to tell Bailey Han that Xiaobao wasn't his son. The two of them soaked for a long time. When they came out of the bathtub, it was already afternoon. They changed their clothes, had lunch, and went to the KTV room to karaoke. The two of them hugged each other shoulder to shoulder as the wind howled. They laughed and played to their heart's content until their voices became hoarse. Only then did they collapse on the sofa and burst out laughing, venting all the pressure and worries that had accumulated in their hearts. The two of them walked out of the KTV room with their arms around each other's shoulders. They couldn't contain their excitement as they danced around, attracting a lot of attention. Among them, there was a pair of gays who had their arms around each other's shoulders. They walked towards them about 10 meters away, and looked at them passionately, as if they had seen their own kind. Xiaodong poked Yi Siqi with her finger and laughed sinisterly. Yezi, look at that pair. They're looking at us with such passionate eyes. They must think that we're a couple too. Yi Siqi turned to glance at them and commented in a serious tone. The top one is tall and the bottom one is delicate and charming. They're a good match. Xiaodong waved at the two of them. Hey, I wish you both happiness. The bottom was so touched that tears welled up in his eyes. He waved back. I wish you both happiness too. Yi Siqi grinned from ear to ear. Thank you. The two of them nodded at each other and walked past each other. The onlookers shook their heads. What a pity. Such a beautiful woman, and such a handsome man. How could they be gay? After walking some distance, the two of them hid in the corridor and laughed. Xiaodong's eyes were filled with tears. I haven't been so happy in a long time. I suddenly remembered that when we were in university, we also teased Lin Shihao like this. She stopped talking abruptly. Yezi, I'm sorry. It's okay. Yi Siqi patted her on the shoulder and grinned. I'm not a porcelain doll that will break at the slightest touch. Now that you mention it, I remember. At that time, Lin Shihao and I were not in a relationship yet. He bought breakfast for me every day and waited for me to go to class with him. The other girls in the hostel said that Lin Shihao had a crush on me. You came up with this idea, saying that you wanted to provoke him into confessing to me. What happened in the end? Yi Siqi stared at Xiaodong with a smirk. Xiaodong touched her nose gloomily. In the end, Lin Shihao said, stop fooling around. I know that there's nothing wrong with your sexual orientation. Speaking of which, it's all your fault for being too stiff. Xiaodong shamelessly pushed all the blame to her. Hey, how is my acting bad? You're the one who watched too many dramas and came up with some sour lines that ruined the whole show, okay? It's all your fault. It's all your fault. The two of them disappeared into the corridor, leaving behind the sound of arguing and laughter. Everyone should have a very important friend in their life. That way, they wouldn't feel lonely when they were hurt and lost. It was past 5 in the afternoon. The sky was very gloomy. It seemed like it was going to snow again. Xiaodong and Yi Siki were wrapped up tightly. When they came out of the resort, Old Chun had already parked the car at the gate. Xiaodong asked Old Chun to send Yi Siki home first. The two of them hugged and said goodbye. Yi Siki was carrying the gift that Xiaodong brought back from Rome. He smiled and waved his hand. Be careful on the road. Xiaobao touched her head and sighed. Mom, I suspect that you have Alzheimer's disease. You should go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. Xiaodong deliberately put on a stern face. She pinched Xiaobao's pink cheeks with both hands and kneaded them like dough. Little rascal, how dare you laugh at me? Xiaobao's pink face was distorted by the kneading. She cried out with tears in her eyes. Dad, save me. Mom is domestic violence. Son, I can't help you. Bailey Han coughed and stood firmly on his wife's side. He gave his son a look that said, good luck to you. Xiaoyi reached out and covered Xiao Guai's round eyes. She whispered, it's so violent. It's not suitable for minors to watch. Xiao Guai cried out in surprise. Hey brother E, you're underage too. You should cover your eyes too. Hey you guys. Do you still have any humanity left in you? How could you just stand by and watch as mom tragically kills me? Xiaoyi said seriously. You're wrong. How could we just stand by and watch as mommy tortures you? We've already closed our eyes. Xiaobao blinked his big, watery eyes pitifully. Boo. I can't live like this anymore. I want to run away from home. All right. I'm just teasing you. Xiaodong held his little face and said with a smile. Come, let mommy give you a kiss. You'll get better soon. No. Xiaobao turned his head away arrogantly and raised his little chin. Don't be angry, my good son. Xiaodong rubbed his soft hair. Her eyes were filled with warmth and love, but there was also a trace of undetectable sadness. This was the child she had raised for 5 years. Although he was not her biological child, she treated him like one. If it were not for that text message, she would have almost forgotten that Xiaobao was a child she adopted from an orphanage. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 311. In the bedroom, the soft light shone down on Xiaodong's body, outlining a warm curve. She sat sideways at the head of the bed with her head slightly lowered. She was holding something in her hand and flipping it slowly. There was a peaceful smile on her face. He couldn't bear to disturb the beautiful peace. Xiaodong felt the mattress beside her sink. Bailey Han's tall and straight body was very close to her, and the faint scent of lemon-scented shower gel wafted into her nose. Honey, what are you looking at? He hugged her from the side, and she leaned against his chest. Do you want to see pictures of Xiaobao and Xiao Guai when they were young? She adjusted her position and placed the album on his lap. Bailey Han's gaze fell on the album. The album was very beautifully made, and it was the first time he had seen the pictures inside. There were pictures of the children at various ages. There was a picture of them when they were 6 months old. The 2 pink Xiaobao babies were placed in a wooden basin, and their 2 pairs of small hands were tightly grasping the sides of the basin. Their 2 pairs of beautiful big eyes were staring in front of them with a surprised expression. Xiaodong pointed at the picture and laughed. Brother Shen took this picture for them. At that time, I took the rattle and shook it in front of them to attract their attention. There was a picture of Xiao Guai when they were 1 year old. She was wearing a beautiful little dress and cute cat ears on her head. Xiao Bao was wearing a small short-sleeved shirt and shorts, and he was wearing silly brown bear ears on his head. The 2 babies stood facing each other. Xiao Bao was holding a bunch of wild grass flowers in his hand, and he handed it to Xiao Guai. Xiao Guai tilted her head and looked at him with a thoughtful expression. as if she didn't understand why her brother would give her flowers. Xiaodong leaned into Bailey Han's arms and laughed. Honey, look at them. Aren't they very cute? Bailey Han stroked her hair, and his eyes were filled with love. It seems that I have missed a lot of good times. She looked up at him. It's okay. I have already recorded all the good times for you. She kissed his sharp chin and jumped down from his arms. Wait for me, I'll get something for you. She wore slippers and hopped into the storage room. Her back was full of energy, like a cheerful little rabbit. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows in amusement and continued to admire the album. The more he looked at the album, the more Mika Keto appeared. Almost half of the photos were taken with him, Xiaodong, and the children. His gaze deepened. Through the photos, he saw the warmth of Mika Keto and Xiaodong. There was something called jealousy brewing in his heart. Hubby, Xiaodong suddenly ran to his side and hugged his neck from behind. She leaned against his back and held something in her hand in front of him. It was a CD. This is the video that Brother Shin took for us every year for our children's birthdays. I'll play it for you. She smiled. He pursed his lips and slowly said, Okay. Xiaodong ran to the TV with the CD and put it on the DVD player. Soon, the video appeared on the LCD wall-mounted TV. There were a total of 4 birthdays and a total of 1.5 hours of editing. It was like a romantic fairy tale. There were cute princesses and princes, beautiful queens and handsome knights. It was a pity that there was no handsome king. Seeing how close Mika Keto and Xiaodong were, the smile in Bailey Han's eyes faded, and the corners of his lips tightened. Xiaodong looked back at the past few years with the video and felt depressed. She didn't know if Xiao Bao would still be willing to be her son, after knowing the truth. Bailey Han was so jealous that he didn't notice Xiaodong's abnormal mood. He suddenly reached for the remote control and turned off the TV. He pulled her into his arms, lifted her chin, and kissed her lips. His kiss was fierce and hurried. It was full of aggressiveness, as if he wanted to devour her. He was rarely so rough with her. She couldn't breathe properly and clutched the bathrobe in front of his chest tightly. Hubby, she murmured uneasily and panted softly. I'm jealous. His voice was low and hoarse. His lips lingered by her ear, and he bit her sensitive earlobe with a little force. She couldn't help but cry out in pain. He stroked her back with both hands and whispered, In the past 5 years, your relationship with Mika Keto was so good that it made me jealous. He bluntly complained about his dissatisfaction. He quickly took off the bathrobe on her, and suddenly pressed her under his body. His eyes were terrifyingly dark. She shrank her shoulders. She didn't expect him to suddenly mention Mika Keto. She bit her lips in grievance and her eyes were hazy with tears. Her voice was mixed with a trace of gentleness. I only treated him as an older brother. You said that you would understand. I can't understand it now. Bailey Han forcefully kissed her lips and his hands were on fire all over her body. If it was said that before he saw these photos and videos, he was 100% jealous of Beitangshin, then now his jealousy towards him had reached 200%. He hated that he had lost his memory for 5 years, and that she had been able to leave him for 5 years. As a result, Mika Keto had played an important role in her and their child's lives. He hated that he had been absent from their lives for 5 years. When she needed support and help the most, he couldn't be by her side. Xiaodong hugged this irritable man who seemed to be in puberty. She tried to use her gentleness to defuse his sudden anger. She hooked her arms around his neck and raised her head. Her soft lips kissed his chin and then wandered around his face, the corner of his lips, the high bridge of his nose, his full forehead, and finally the tip of his cold ear. She stuck out the tip of her tongue and gently licked it. His body suddenly trembled. His clear black and white eyes stared into her eyes. The corners of her eyes were full of smiles. She said softly, Hubby, no matter what happened in the past, the one who is by my side now is you. In the future, only you will be by my side. His eyes were instantly overflowing with color. Under the soft light, his face was unbelievably beautiful. His brows were slightly furrowed, and the veins on his forehead popped out. His face was flushed, and it seemed that he had been holding back for a long time. His voice had a unique magnetism. In the future, only me. His tone was firm and domineering. There was no room for discussion. She nodded. Only you. Wifey, do you still remember what I said today? His lips curled into a devilish smile. He bent down beside her ear, and his hot breath tickled her ear. His hand gently kneaded her soft pink ear. Her cheeks were flushed red. That scorching breath enveloped her, and she almost suffocated. Her hands and feet were already unable to exert any strength. Following his movements, her delicate voice died down. You don't remember. I think it wasn't anything good. He suddenly held her butt and slapped it hard. There was a mischievous smile in his voice. You're so naughty. You actually forgot what I said. It hurts. She furrowed her brows and bit her lips. She looked like she was about to cry, and it made his heart skip a beat. He turned her over, and his voice was filled with annoyance. Let me see. 5 clear fingerprints were left on her fair and tender skin. Her skin was delicate to begin with. Even if he held her arm tightly, it would leave a mark, not to mention his heavy slap. He wanted to be naughty, but he didn't expect that he couldn't control his strength. The tips of Bailey Han's ears were slightly red. He was extremely annoyed and bent down to kiss the clear fingerprints. Xiaodong felt something soft land on her butt. It was like a feather moving gently around the area that he had slapped. Then, the tip of a wet tongue licked her skin. She was so shocked that her back arched slightly. Hubby, don't. She shyly moved her body, but his palm held her down tightly. He kissed her back slowly, and a numb feeling instantly rose from the bottom of her feet to the top of her head. Her body trembled violently and her heart felt like it was about to explode. Unknowingly, he was already leaning on her back. His hot lips were against her ear, and his voice was filled with unbearable desire. Wifey, do you remember what I said today? Boo. I remember. She had reason to believe that if she didn't surrender, he would torture her until she knelt down and begged for mercy. What did I say? He blew hot air into her ear. Her body trembled, and her voice was intermittent. You want to eat meat. That's a good girl. He kissed the tip of her red ear. That night, Bailey Han, who had endured for nearly half a year, finally got what he wanted. He ate a lot of meat. After eating the meat, he carried the unconscious Xiaodong into the bathroom and cleaned her up. Then he held her in his arms and fell into a deep sleep with a satisfied expression on his face. The next day, after Xiaodong woke up, she habitually touched the spot beside her. It was empty and a little cold. Bailey Han must have been awake for a long time. Inexplicably, she felt a little disappointed. She hugged the blanket and sat up from the bed. Her legs were sore. Thinking about their wild behavior last night, she couldn't help but blush and her heart beat faster. She covered her head with the blanket tightly. Beep beep. Her phone rang. Xiaodong picked it up from the bedside table. It turned out to be a message from Bailey Han. Little lazy cat, are you awake? I saw that you were sleeping so soundly this morning, so I couldn't bear to wake you up. Gigai, rest at home. I'll be back early tonight. Xiaodong laughed foolishly and replied, Is it convenient now? At that moment, Bailey Han was sitting in the meeting room facing all kinds of accusations from the group of old men on the board of directors. They blamed him for affecting the company's normal operations for personal matters, for letting the inexperienced Bailey Jing manage the company, and for affecting the company's performance and so on. Don't ask him why he sent a message at this time. It was because he felt that facing this group of old antiques was very boring. Also, his wife should have woken up by now. His phone vibrated with a message notification. Bailey Han glanced indifferently at a certain old antique, who was still talking nonstop, and replied calmly, It's convenient. After replying, he put the phone down on the table, and suddenly interrupted old antique. His expression was solemn as he said in a heavy voice, As far as I know, during the time that Bailey Jing has been managing the company's performance has risen by 3 points. The company's operations in all aspects are going well. If you're willing to look through the information in your hands, you'll understand that what I'm saying is true. There was the sound of awkward coughing in the meeting room, as well as the sound of someone flipping through information, and a very discordant ringtone. Wifey is calling, wifey is calling. The group of people almost banged their heads on the table. Under their strange gazes, Bailey Han calmly answered the phone and said softly, "Wait a minute." He raised his head and swept his gaze over the people in the meeting room. His gentle voice instantly turned cold. "Today's meeting is over." He abruptly got up, pushed his chair back and strode out of the room. His voice was gentle again. "Wifey, have you had breakfast?" He hadn't deliberately lowered his voice, so everyone in the meeting room heard him. Everyone's expressions became very interesting. Lu Zihao very calmly helped his boss tidy up the information on the table. Before he walked out of the meeting room, he gently and kindly reminded everyone who was already petrified. "Everyone, the meeting is over." On the other side, Xia Dong scratched her head with a puzzled expression. "Just now I think I heard you say something about a meeting. Did I interrupt your meeting?" "No, I have to thank you for saving me from that boring meeting." Bailey Han sat on the sofa with his legs crossed and his body stretched out. He had a cheerful expression on his face, and the corners of his lips curled up. "Actually, it's nothing." Xia Dong's slender fingers clutched the corner of the blanket as she stammered. "It's just that." "It's just that what?" Bailey Han asked, the smile on his handsome face growing gentler. Xia Dong felt like she was going to throw caution to the wind. She gritted her teeth and said stiffly, "It's just that I'm not used to not seeing you when I wake up in the morning." "Oh," he said solemnly, and didn't respond again. Xia Dong was a little discouraged. She didn't seem to be born with the gift of sweet words. Moreover, his reaction was so cold. She was angry and was about to hang up when he suddenly raised his eyebrows. "That's it. I thought you would say that you missed me and couldn't bear to part with me." Her eyes widened. After a while she said softly, "Just take it that I meant it." "How can I take it that way?" "Since you missed me, then tell me. I want to hear it from you personally." Bailey Han's gentle voice had a hint of bewitchment. All right, it wasn't like she hadn't said it before. She would just tell him. Fortunately, he couldn't see her blushing face. She was relieved. She lay on the bed and rolled around. "Hubby, I missed you." "I missed you too." His eyes were full of smiles. He seemed to have thought of something as his lips curled into a mischievous smile. "There's an ointment in the drawer on the right. What is it for?" "The wound on your butt." His words were concise, but she blushed. Her mind couldn't help but think of some scenes that made her blush and her heart race. She knocked on her forehead to stop herself from letting her imagination run wild. She quickly found an excuse to hang up the phone. "I'm hungry. I'm going to eat first. Bye-bye." He chuckled. "Okay." Xia Dong came out of the bathroom after washing up. When she heard the sound of a message on her phone, she thought it was from Bailey Han again. She quickly took out her phone to check, but she didn't expect to see a message from a stranger. The content of the message made her face turn pale. "I'm Xiaobao's biological mother. Awesome novel. Hongchai 866. Chapter 312. The content of the message made her face turn pale. "I'm Xiaobao's biological mother." Xia Dong bit her lip and hesitated for a while. Finally, with trembling fingers, she dialed the unknown number. Beep beep. The sound of waiting for the call to be picked up came from the phone. She clutched the phone tightly, her heart pounding like a drum. She was so nervous that her back was sweating. Click. The call was rejected. Xia Dong sat on the fabric sofa dejectedly. She didn't know what the other party wanted. She was typing a message, but before she could choose to send it, the other party had already sent a message. "After the spring festival, I'm going back to my son." It seemed that the other party didn't want to talk to her directly, and only wanted to communicate through text messages. Xia Dong punched the sofa angrily, deleted the words she had already typed, and typed a new message. "I want to meet you." After waiting for about 2 minutes, the other party replied, "I'm not in China right now. Be prepared. After the spring festival, I'm going to take my son back." Xia Dong could no longer control her anger, and quickly typed a message. "What is this? You were the one who abandoned Xiaobao back then, and now you want to take him back. Have you considered Xiaobao's feelings?" 10 minutes, half an hour, there was still no reply. Xia Dong called again, but the other party had already turned off the phone. "I'm so angry." Xiaodong punched the sofa fiercely. She still couldn't vent her anger, so she used the cushion as a punching bag and punched it to vent her anger. Xiaodong thought for a long time, and felt that she should first confirm whether the other party was Xiao Bao's biological mother. She dug out the phone number of the orphanage in Japan from a secret notebook. After she dialed an international number, she communicated with the orphanage director in Japanese for a long time. About a week ago, a Japanese woman came to our orphanage, saying that she was looking for her lost child. I took out all the photos of the orphans from the past 5 years. The woman looked at them for a long time and finally focused on Xiao Bao. She asked a lot of questions about Xiao Bao. Xiaodong gritted her teeth and asked, "Does that woman have any evidence to prove that she's Xiao Bao's biological mother?" The director said, "I looked at the birth certificate in her hand at that time, and it confirmed that she had given birth to a child. She also said that her son had a small red mole on his buttocks." Xiaodong's heart sank. There was indeed a red mole on Xiao Bao's butt. It seemed that the woman who had inquired about him in the orphanage was his biological mother. At that time, I gave that woman your phone number and planned to tell you about this matter, but I called your phone, and it was turned off. The director's tone was apologetic. "I'm very sorry if this matter has caused you any trouble." Xiaodong rubbed her eyebrows helplessly. "I happened to be in Rome during that period of time, and I was using an overseas SIM card, so I missed your call. Can you tell me her name?" "Her name is Suzuki Sakura. I don't know much about other information." "Okay. Thank you, director." After ending the call, Xiaodong's heart was in a mess. She called Suzuki Sakura, but her phone was still turned off. Ever since she revealed her purpose, she seemed to have disappeared from the face of the earth, and would only appear after the spring festival. There was a knock on the door. Xiaodong took a deep breath and then slowly exhaled. She patted her cheeks and jumped off the sofa to open the door. "Mommy." Xiao Guai stood at the door with a smile. "Gigai, what's wrong?" Xiaodong bent down to pick up her daughter and kissed her pink cheeks. "Mommy, it's already past 10. I saw that you hadn't come downstairs, so I thought you were sick, so I came up to see you." Xiaodong smiled. "Mommy is fine. She just has something to do upstairs. Come, let's go downstairs." She carried her daughter downstairs and found that it was very quiet. She was a little curious. "Gigai, where are the others?" Xiao Guai played with her chubby little fingers and said softly, "Sister Hai Hai is sleeping. Great-grandma and great-grandpa are in the study. Grandpa and Daddy went to work. Aunt Jing also went to work. Grandma has a date with the other grandmas, so she went out to play. Brother and Brother E are building a snowman outside." Xiaodong couldn't help but laugh. She rubbed her beautiful short hair. Gigai is like a loudspeaker, reporting everyone's situation. Xiao Guai blinked her big bright eyes and giggled. "The loudspeaker is very loud, and my voice is very gentle. The boys in the kindergarten all like my voice. You're so smug, little rascal." Xiaodong pinched her cute little nose. "Let's go. Let's go see your 2 little brothers." Before the 2 of them went out, they wrapped themselves in thick down jackets. Xiaodong put a little down hat and a red scarf on Xiao Guai. Then she held her little hand and walked to the back garden where her 2 sons were building snowmen. It snowed heavily last night, and the whole world was dyed white. The trees were covered in white coats, and the lawn was covered with snow-white blankets. The diligent servants had already cleared the snow on the road, making it very convenient to walk. Xiao Yi and Xiao Bao were building snowmen on the snow-covered lawn. The 2 little guys didn't wear down jackets, only thick sweater jackets. Their handsome little faces were red, and their little noses were also red. They were as cute as carrots. They waved little snow shovels, and had already built a chubby snowman. It was about 1 meter tall, with a round head and a thick body. It didn't have any facial features or hands yet. "Mommy, I want to play too." Xiao Guai shook Xiaodong's arm. "Okay, go ahead." Xiaodong gently patted her little head. The little girl ran towards her 2 brothers with a smile. Xiao Yi looked up and grinned, revealing her snow-white teeth. "Mommy, come over and play with us too." Xiao Bao chuckled. "Xiao Yi, you don't know. Mommy is most afraid of the cold. She won't come over." "Who said I won't come over? Don't look down on me." Xiaodong snorted and walked over to her two sons through the thick snow. Xiao Yi and Xiao Bao covered their mouths and snickered. Xiao Guai tilted her head and looked at the snowman for a while. She frowned slightly and said, "The snowman doesn't have a nose, eyes, or mouth. What are you going to use to replace them?" "Yigai, use this as the eyes and mouth." Xiao Yi slowly took out something from his trouser pocket and extended his hand in front of Xiao Guai. "Okay." Xiao Guai nodded happily and took two black buttons from his hand. "I'm going to put on the snowman's eyes." She tiptoed, picked up a button, and pressed it on the snowman's face. Button a little to the left, a little lower. The children happily dressed the snowman. Xiaodong's lips curled up. She walked not far away, broke off two branches from a tree, and stuck them on both sides of the snowman's body. She raised her eyebrows proudly. "Use this as the snowman's arms. Does it look good?" Xiao Bao stared at the hat on her head. His big eyes blinked quickly and he revealed a cute smile. "Mommy, are you cold?" Xiaodong shook her head. "I'm not cold." He pointed at the hat on her head and continued to blink cutely. "Then contribute your hat to the snowman." I thought you cared about me." Xiaodong grumbled, but she still willingly contributed the hat and put it on the snowman's head. "I'm still missing a scarf." Xiao Bao continued to blink. "Okay, contribute it all." Xiaodong took off the scarf and tied it around the snowman's neck. "Wow, it's so beautiful." Xiao Guai screamed and clapped. "I'm still missing a nose." Xiao Yi rubbed his chin. He took out a finger-thick carrot from his other trouser pocket and pressed it between the snowman's eyes and mouth. "It's perfect now." He grinned. "Wait a minute, I want to take a photo as a souvenir." Xiaodong had an idea. She quickly ran upstairs to get the camera. When she ran to the door of the living room, the butler appeared with a smile and a camera. "Young madam, I'll take a photo for you." "Okay, thank you." The mother and children made various poses around the snowman, and the old butler kept pressing the shutter to record their laughter and laughter. "Let's have a snowball fight." As soon as Xiao Bao finished speaking, a snowball flew at his head. He reflexively closed his eyes, and the snowball rolled down his cheek with a plop sound. Broken snow stained his face. "Ha ha." The culprit, Xiao Yi, held his stomach and laughed loudly. "Wah, I want revenge." Xiao Bao angrily wiped the broken snow off his face. He quickly grabbed a handful of snow from the ground, rolled it into a ball, and threw it at Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi nimbly hid behind Xiaodong, and the snowball hit Xiaodong's abdomen. "Xiao Bao, how dare you hit me? I want revenge too." Xiaodong pretended to be angry. She bent down and made a snowball from the ground. Just as she was about to attack Xiao Bao, a snowball hit her face. She wiped her face and looked at the culprit, Xiao Guai. She smiled and stuck out her tongue. "Mommy, I didn't do it on purpose." "Wah, you two bad children are bullying me." Xiaodong squatted on the ground shamelessly. She lowered her head and rubbed her eyes with the back of her left hand as if she was crying sadly. Xiao Guai felt guilty and walked over with his short legs. "Mommy, don't be angry." "Xiao Guai, don't be fooled. Mom must be playing tricks." Xiao Bao was far away from Xiao Guai. He wanted to stop her, but it was too late. Sure enough, Xiao Bao was right. Xiao Guai had a snowball on her face. She pouted her pink lips and looked helpless. She was so pitiful. Xiao Yi and Xiao Bao ran toward Xiao Guai. "Mommy, you're too cunning." Xiao Yi wiped the snow off Xiao Guai's face with a helpless expression. "All's fair in war," Xiaodong shamelessly said without the slightest bit of guilt. Let's unite and deal with Mommy together." Xiao Bao's suggestion was immediately approved by the other two little rascals. The three children aimed the snowballs in their hands at Xiaodong. "Wah, you guys are going too far." Xiaodong yelled as he tried to fend off the attacks. "Hee, all's fair in war," the three little rascals said in unison, using her words against her. Their laughter echoed in the cold air for a long time. Welfare Songshu 566. Chapter 313. Xiaodong didn't know how to tell Beilihan about Xiao Bao's background. After hesitating for 2 days, they welcomed the spring festival. The old mansion was full of celebration. The servants hung lanterns around the mansion, and the couplets written by Bailey Han were pasted on the gate. Bailey Yin had rushed back from America to reunite with his family. Dowdu was the most affectionate towards him and almost pushed him to the ground. She licked his face with her long tongue and saliva was all over his face. They hadn't seen each other for more than half a year, and Bailey Han had become even more mature. He was confident, elegant and graceful, and his every movement carried a more steady and gentle temperament. He smiled and raised his slender eyes slightly. He hugged his family members one by one. Finally, he stood in front of Xia Dong and the smile in his eyes faded. Long time no see, sister-in-law. Xia Dong reached out her hand and smiled sincerely. Welcome back, Ayun. He reached out and held her hand very tightly, as if he wanted to hold her hand in his palm and not let go. Xia Dong tried hard to pull her hand away but failed. Her bright smile became unnatural, and she had to remind him. Ayun. Bai Liyun's lips curled up slightly, and he slowly let go of her hand. Bailey Han quietly put his arm around Xia Dong's shoulder and smiled. Ayun, I heard that your business in America is doing very well. Congratulations. Bailey Yin put his hands in his trouser pockets and raised his eyebrows. Oh, it's not bad. I plan to enter the China market this summer. Bailey Han patted Xia Dong's shoulder and motioned for her to take care of the children. He reached out and invited Bailey Yin to sit on the sofa. Father is very happy that you have achieved so much. Is that so? Bailey Yin leaned against the sofa and crossed his legs. He looked indifferent and casually glanced at Xia Dong, who was carrying Hai upstairs. There wasn't much to talk about between the two brothers. Soon the two of them fell silent, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. Fortunately, Bailey Jing and Xiao Yi ran over. The two of them surrounded Bailey Yin and started chatting. During the reunion dinner, everyone was very happy. Bailey Xiong was in high spirits. Suddenly, he picked up food for Bai Jinxiu on a whim. Bai Jinxiu pursed her lips and smiled. Her cheeks were a little hot. Although they had been eating at the same table as each other for decades, this was the first time he took the initiative to pick up food for her. Bai Jinxiu also picked up Bailey Xiong's favorite dishes and put them in his bowl. They looked at each other and smiled. The interaction between the two fell into the eyes of Bailey Yun, who was sitting opposite them. He lowered his eyes slightly to hide the coldness in his eyes. Old Madame Han also saw this scene. She pursed her lips in satisfaction and looked around. When she saw that there were many children and grandchildren in the room, she was even happier. She smiled and said, "Today is a good day for our family to reunite. Except for the children, everyone should drink to celebrate." Old Madame Han was usually very strict and didn't allow the family to drink. She only relaxed her control on festive days and allowed everyone to drink a few glasses. Xia Dong looked up at Bailey Han with a troubled expression. She would get drunk as soon as she drank. What if she got drunk and made a fool of herself? Bailey Han held her hand comfortingly and looked at old Madame Han. "Grandma, Xia is not in good health. The doctor said that she can't drink. Let her drink instead." Old Madame Han nodded. "Okay, Xia will drink." The servant came forward and poured wine for everyone, including Xia Dong and the three children. Old Madame Han was very happy today and drank 2 glasses of wine. After eating, she felt a little dizzy and the servant helped her upstairs to rest. Bailey Xiong intended to be a competent father and drank a few more glasses with his 2 sons. The 3 of them sat around the fireplace and chatted. Xia Dong held Hai in her arms and accompanied by Jinxiu to watch TV. The 3 children sat on the thick carpet and played games. Laughter could be heard from time to time. The atmosphere of the whole family was very warm and intoxicating. Xia Dong turned her head to look at Bailey Han. The firelight reflected on his face and outlined the contours of his face. He seemed to feel her gaze and suddenly turned his head. There was a smile in his clear black and white eyes. The corners of her lips couldn't help but curl up. The sound of firecrackers and fireworks could be heard outside. She didn't know why, but she suddenly remembered what Suzuki Chisakura said. She was going to take Xiao Bao away after the spring festival. Her mood suddenly became a little down. The pleasant ringtone of the phone interrupted Xia Dong's thoughts. She heard Bailey Xiong answer the phone. "I'm at home now and can't go. Go to bed early. Yin is back. I'll ask him to visit you tomorrow. It should be Lu Xiaoxiao calling. Xiaodong noticed that Bai Jinxiu's fingers moved, and the corners of her lips curled up. Bailey Xiong patted Bailey Yun's shoulder and looked a little drunk. Yin, go see your mother tomorrow. She misses you very much. Bailey Yun nodded slightly. I know, Dad. I'm a little drunk. I'm going upstairs to rest. You should rest early too. Okay, go ahead. Bailey Xiong waved his hand. Bailey Xiong and Bailey Han chatted for a while before the two of them left. Bailey Han took Hai from Xiaodong's arms. The couple said good night to the elders, and then asked the children to go upstairs to rest. Bailey Xiong sat beside Bai Jinxiu and leaned against the sofa. He whispered lazily, "It's just the two of us now. Do you want to stay up late?" The corners of Bai Jinxiu's lips curled up slightly. Looking at his drunken appearance, she said lightly, "Why stay up late? You're already so drunk. You know that you're getting old, but you don't know how to control yourself." In the past, Bailey Xiong would feel very unhappy when he heard her say such slightly accusatory words. But today he didn't know if it was because he was drunk, but he actually felt that these words sounded very pleasing to his ears. He suddenly stretched out his arm and hugged her, who was sitting upright and still. He put his finger on her lips and smiled. "Why don't you know how to say something nice?" His sudden intimate action made Bai Jinxiu very uncomfortable. Her cheeks were hot and she pushed him. "Hurry up and let go. Be careful not to let the children see." "Then let's go back to the room and not let them see." Bailey Xiong suddenly got up and pulled her up from the sofa. He held her tightly in his arms. "Come, let's go back to the room." Bai Jinxiu was born into a scholarly family and had cultivated a noble and elegant manner since she was young. She had always disdained such unrestrained behavior. Moreover, Bailey Xiong had never treated her like this. At this moment, being held in his arms, she was embarrassed and angry. She lowered her voice and said, "Bailey Xiong, hurry up and let go of me." Bailey Xiong stared fixedly at her face. She usually took good care of herself and there were no wrinkles on her skin. It was delicate and fair like a prostitute's. At this moment, she was embarrassed and angry, and her skin was faintly pink. He couldn't help but feel a little restless. Under the influence of alcohol, he suddenly carried her up horizontally. Although his steps were messy, he didn't stumble. She nervously grabbed his clothes and whispered, "What are you doing? Hurry up and put me down." He laughed deeply. "Of course I'm carrying you back to the room. Don't be noisy. Be careful not to let the children hear." Bai Jinxiu bit her lip and glared at him angrily. Their room was on the 3rd floor. Fortunately, Bailey Xiong paid attention to exercise and Bai Jinxiu was very light, so he was able to successfully carry her upstairs. After they entered the bedroom and closed the door, Bailey Yun's figure flashed out from the corner of the stairs. He stared at the door with a deep gaze and gripped the phone tightly in his hand. "Hey, Yin, why are you suddenly not talking?" Lu Xiaoxiao's voice came from the phone. He put the phone to his ear and said in a deep voice, "I advise you to leave Bailey Xiong as soon as possible." Lu Xiaoxiao was stunned. "Yin, why are you suddenly saying that?" Bailey Yun's lips curled into a mocking smile. In the past, after the reunion dinner, you could summon Bailey Xiong over with a phone call. Tonight you can't. Haven't you thought about the reason? Lu Xiaoxiao was silent for a moment and said, "I know. He rarely comes to my place recently, but I've been with him for so many years. How can I be willing to give up?" The mocking smile on his lips became more obvious. "After so many years, you're still dreaming of being a rich lady. When will you wake up?" "Maybe I won't wake up for the rest of my life." Her tone was a little lonely. She shouldn't be like this. She was flirtatious, she was unrestrained, she was good at flattery, and she was very shrewd in planning for herself. This tone didn't suit her. Bailey Yin held the phone, and the veins on the back of his hand throbbed. He said in a deep voice, "Do you love him?" She didn't respond. Her silence represented everything. His voice was cold. "I thought you never loved him." Lu Xiaoxiao laughed self-deprecatingly. "I used to think it was for money and status. Later, after he distanced himself from me, I realized that I had already fallen. You'd better give up on that thought. It's not too late to escape now. He's already being intimate with his wife. There's no place for you, the third party, between the two of them. His words were cold and ruthless, and they ruthlessly tore open Lu Xiaoxiao's scars. She was silent for a long time before she said, I know. Bailey Yun said coldly, although I don't want to admit it, I'm your son. I'll be responsible for raising you. Don't betray yourself anymore. Lu Xiaoxiao laughed. Yin, you've grown up. Bailey Yun's face was cold. I'm hanging up. Thank you, son. She said the last two words very softly, but he heard them clearly. His heart trembled, and he hung up the phone without hesitation. There was no one in the living room, and the entire villa was quiet. Bailey Yun leaned against the railing and looked at the dark sky. He suddenly laughed, but that smile was very cold and very bleak. Dowda was lying at his feet, and from time to time, he would raise his head to look at him. Bailey Yun rubbed his furry head and laughed self-deprecatingly. Everyone is in pairs. We're the only ones left. In a distant place, the lights were shining brightly. That was the location of the city. He suddenly felt a little lonely. He wanted to know how many people were like him, without a home on New Year's Eve. He put on his coat, took his car keys, and drove his flashy Ferrari into the night. Charm Bar. It was very deserted, and there were only a few people. Bailey Yun sat at the bar counter and ordered a cup of Bloody Mary. Under the dim light, the color of blood was indescribably strange. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 314. Bailey Yin took out his phone and called Xiao Tiansheng. I'm at your bar. Come out and have a drink with me. Xiao Tiansheng's voice was very low. Tomorrow. Now the old man is educating me. Bailey Yin chuckled. Okay, I wish you a safe retreat. Xiao Tiansheng sighed helplessly. He wanted to say something, but his father's roar came from the other end. Which rascal is calling you again? It's the new year. Are you going to go out and cause trouble? I'm hanging up. Xiao Tiansheng hurriedly said and hung up the phone. Bailey Yin stared at his phone and shook his head with a smile. He made a few more calls to his former friends, but none of them had time to accompany him. Some said they wanted to accompany their families, some said they wanted to accompany their girlfriends, and the most ridiculous one said he wanted to work overtime. At a critical moment, no one can be relied on. Bailey Yin shook his head and threw his phone on the bar counter. He gave up on looking for his friends to drink with him. The crisp sound of high heels could be heard. The bar was deserted, and there was no entertainment. Bailey Yin naturally turned around and decided to kill some time. A slim figure appeared at the door. The doorman helped her take off her coat, and she walked over in a pair of high-heeled leather boots that were more than 10 centimeters high. She was wearing a red sweater dress, black stockings, and black sheepskin boots. Her wavy hair was draped over her shoulders, and she had a great figure. Bailey Yin gave her a score of 90. As she walked closer, Bailey Yin could clearly see her face. It was a charming and delicate face, with curved willow leaf eyebrows, tender eyes, and a bit of charming crimson lips. Her appearance added a warm atmosphere to the deserted bar. All the men stared at her in amazement. Some of them were already eager to try and hit on her. Bailey Yin was a little dispirited. He raised his eyebrows and turned around indifferently to slowly taste his cocktail. The sound of her footsteps was particularly clear in the empty bar. He clearly heard her walk to his side and sit down beside him. Her voice was as gentle as water as she said, I'll have a glass of Bloody Mary. Her Mandarin was a bit clumsy. She had a foreign accent and an oriental face. Bailey Yin was sure that she was either Korean or Japanese. His slender fingers held the wine glass and gently swirled it as he looked at the wine glass lazily. The beauty suddenly chuckled. No man has ever ignored my existence like you do. Bailey Yin raised his eyebrows and looked at her sideways. He narrowed his eyes and said, I don't like women like you. The beauty covered her mouth and chuckled. Her movements were extremely charming. You're really direct. Someone once told me that he likes charming women like me the most. Is that so? Bailey Yun's expression was indifferent as he replied casually. Do you want to try my type? Her fingernails were dyed scarlet. She stretched her slender fingers in front of him, and her sexy red lips curled up. My English name is Sophia. How should I address you? Bailey Yin. He politely shook her fingers and wasn't very friendly. She smiled. I just arrived in China today. However, it seems like I didn't come at the right time. Everyone is busy with the holidays, he said indifferently. The Spring Festival is a day for the whole family to reunite. It's very important to Chinese people. She glanced at the bar and nodded. No wonder there are so few people in the bar. Her beautiful eyes were fixed on him with complex emotions surging in them. What about you? Why don't you reunite with your wife and child? Bailey Yun's lips curled up mockingly. The woman I love is already married. I'm still single. What a pity. Sophia shrugged. She supported her exquisite face with one hand and smiled coquettishly. I'm single too. Why don't I accompany you for the holidays? Bailey Yun turned to look at her, and his lips curled up in a strange smile. How do you plan to accompany me? I'll accompany you however you want me to. Her slender fingers slowly landed on his sharp chin and gently stroked it, sliding down to his Adam's apple. It's a pity that I'm not in the mood. He held her fingers and slowly moved them away. If you want to have fun, find someone else. Sophia was startled and seemed a little surprised. She suddenly smiled and said, I came here specifically to look for you. Bailey Yin frowned and looked at her seriously for a while. His brows relaxed and he said lazily, I don't know you. Why should we know each other when we meet? She moved closer to him and leaned against his chest. Her arms wrapped around his muscular waist, and her mouth was close to his ear. She blew hot air into his earlobe and whispered seductively, Tonight I'm your... What a persistent woman. Bailey Yin let her hug him, and then leaned close to her ear and bit her earlobe. Her body trembled sensitively, and her arms tightened even more. He chuckled. Not only are you persistent, but you're also a sensitive woman. She stuck out her tongue and licked his ear. Do you like it then? What do you want? There was a hint of coldness in his laughter. A one-night stand or money? Your body. She was like a seductive snake as she wrapped around him tightly. Her hands caressed his back and chest unscrupulously. She looked up at him with her charming eyes that could melt him. She licked her sexy red lips with her pink tongue. And your love? Bailey Yin raised his eyebrows. You're too greedy. She smiled strangely. I'll get it. He laughed and shook his head. He couldn't be bothered to argue with her. She didn't explain and kissed his thin lips. The tip of her tongue traced the shape of his lips and tried to invade his territory. However, he was indifferent and kept his lips shut. However, to outsiders they looked like a pair of lovers who were kissing passionately. Even the waiter at the bar couldn't stand it and lowered his head to focus on the beer bottle. Sophia stubbornly kissed him. One of her hands quietly slid to his abdomen and then slowly moved downwards. Bai Liyun's eyes were clear and cold, without the slightest hint of lust. He suddenly tightened his grip on her hand and abruptly pushed her away. He coldly said, The game is over. You can be eliminated. He was already tired of the boring game of hunting for women. In the past half a year in America, he had put all his energy into his work and rarely went to places of pleasure. He suddenly got up and took out a few notes from his wallet and placed them on the bar counter. That glass of beer is on me, he said plainly. He didn't look at her anymore and turned to leave. Sophia ran her fingers through her hair and looked at his back as he walked away. Her eyes were deep and serene, and there was a strange smile on her lips. She muttered a few words in Japanese, and it just so happened that the waiter at the bar understood Japanese. He clearly heard her say, I didn't expect you to actually change. Bailey Yin came out of the bar and leaned against the car with his eyes closed. After he was drunk, he started the car and strolled aimlessly in the city. Suddenly, there were a few loud sounds and bright fireworks bloomed in the sky. He saw a magnificent scene through the glass and stopped the car slowly on an unknown street. He lowered the window and watched carefully. What are you doing? Let me go. Hand over all your valuables. Hurry up. The woman's scream and the man's threatening voice broke the beautiful picture. Bai Lian didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but he heard another conversation. I've handed over all my things to you. Let me go. This little girl is not bad looking. Let us brothers have a good time. No, get out of my way. Balian opened the car door and walked towards the alley where the voice came from. He could tolerate robbery, but he couldn't tolerate men raping women. He quickly walked into the dark alley. There was only a dim street lamp here. He saw a thin woman fighting with two tall and powerful men. Their strength was completely unequal, but she didn't give up. She bit with her teeth and kicked with her feet. Her fierce look was like a little white rabbit that had been forced into a corner. A man raised his arm high and was about to land on the woman's face. Balian quickly stepped forward and grabbed the man's wrist. He dragged the man to the side and kicked him hard in the stomach. The man groaned in pain and hugged his stomach. He didn't raise his head for a long time. The other man said angrily, "Don't King meddle in other people's business. Get out of my way." "You're the one who should get out of my way," Balian coldly said. He pulled the woman behind him and punched the man's face. "I'll King kill you." The man flew into a rage out of humiliation and rushed forward with a dagger. "Be careful," the woman cried out worriedly. Balian kicked the man's knee. The man was caught off guard and almost fell. He took the opportunity to snatch the dagger in his hand and threw it far away. Then he flew up and kicked the man's crotch. "Ouch!" The man howled in pain. He was even louder than his companions. He hugged his lower body and rolled on the ground. "Pick up your things and go," Balian said coldly. "Oh, okay." The woman carefully picked up her handbag from the ground and followed behind Balian. They left this troublesome place. When they reached the brightly lit avenue, Balian turned around and looked at the woman behind him. He said indifferently, "Where do you live? I'll send you back." It was the middle of the night, and it was New Year's Eve. It was definitely not easy to get a taxi. The woman was stunned. She pointed at him and shouted, "Balian, it's you." Balian looked at her seriously and frowned. "Li Duobao." Yes, it's me. I didn't expect you to remember me." Li Duobao tucked her messy hair behind her ear and laughed. "I thought your voice was familiar. I didn't expect to meet an old acquaintance." Balian frowned even more. "Why are you here?" Li Duobao's round face revealed an uncomfortable expression. I'm here to see my mother. She lives behind that alley." She pointed at the place where he had taught the robber a lesson. "Let's talk in the car." Balian noticed that her cheeks were red from the cold. "Come and see." Hongcha 866. Chapter 315. Okay. Li Duobao obediently followed him into the car. "Tell me, since you're going to visit your mother, why are you here in the middle of the night?" Balian turned to stare at her, looking a little unhappy. She lowered her head, twiddled her slender fingers and said softly, "My mother remarried, and my stepfather often drinks. When he's drunk, he'll go crazy and say some nasty things. He even does some very strange things. Tonight, he got drunk again, so I decided to go back to my own house." Balian's eyes narrowed, and his well-defined fingers gripped the steering wheel tightly. He said in a deep voice, "Did he violate you?" Li Duobao lowered her head even more. After a long time, she let out a soft "Did he succeed?" Balian suddenly felt a surge of anger in his chest, and he suddenly reached out to lift her chin. She shook her head frantically. "No, he really didn't. Idiot." Balian knocked her forehead hard and shouted at her. "Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you tell your mother?" Tears welled up in her eyes. I lost my father when I was young, and my mother raised me alone. It wasn't easy for me to find happiness. I don't want to destroy it." The anger in Balian's heart gradually dissipated, and an unknown emotion surged in his heart. He stared at her tear-stained face, and after a moment of silence he said in a low voice, "How do you know that your mother is happy? Maybe she's enduring it, because she doesn't want you to worry." Li Duobao wiped her tears and smiled. "No, my stepfather actually treats my mother quite well. I see her smiling happily in front of him." "You're really a little silly." He didn't know what to say to her. He reached out to rub her hair, and there was a hint of gentleness in his voice. "Where do you live? I'll send you back." She gave him an address and smiled brightly. revealing her cute dimples. Bailey Yin, thank you very much. Bailey Yin started the car and smiled faintly. Are you still flying international flights? Oh yeah. She suddenly remembered something and patted her head. By the way, didn't you give me a business card before? Yes, but you never contacted me. He suddenly turned his head and smiled at her. She smiled sheepishly. Because I lost your name card and forgot to save your number in my phone, I haven't been able to contact you. Bailey Yin chuckled. That really sounds like something you would do. Li Duobao laughed dryly. I can't help it. Just like you said, my brain capacity is limited. I often lose things. Do you know what I lost the scariest time? What? He raised his eyebrows curiously. Li Duobao puffed up her round face. I lost myself. It was the first time I flew to Europe. I was shopping during my break and missed the return flight. The leader scolded me terribly. Bailey Yin laughed out loud and finally stopped laughing. He looked at her in surprise. Li Duobao, I'm very curious. How did you grow up safely? Don't mention it again. She covered her face in shame. Bailey Yin laughed again. Ever since he went to America, he rarely laughed so happily. After sending her to her house, Bailey Yin smiled. Rest early. She nodded. Okay, thank you. I'll treat you to a meal when you have time. Which day? Huh, didn't you want to treat me to a meal? You. Actually, she was just saying it casually. She laughed dryly. As long as I have time, any day is fine. Bailey Yin touched his chin. How about the day after tomorrow? Li Duobao scratched her head. Well, the day after tomorrow is the second day of the Lunar New Year. Yes, I know. Then, don't you need to accompany your family or visit relatives and friends? I'm going to visit my mother tomorrow. I'm free the day after tomorrow. He looked up at her. Do you still want to go to your stepfather's place? No. She shook her head frantically. Then it's settled. I'll pick you up the day after tomorrow. He opened the car door for her. Just like that, it's settled. Oh, okay then. Li Duobao got out of the car and waved. Goodbye. Hurry up and go home. It's already very late. Okay, hurry up and go up. She was wearing a thick coat and looked round. Bailey Yin felt that she was very cute as she ran to the building foolishly. His lips curled into a warm smile. When Bailey Yin drove back to the old house, it was already past 1 o'clock in the morning. He slept until 10 o'clock in the morning. When he woke up, he found that his family was already gone. He asked the butler. The butler said, Second young master, master and madam took eldest young master and his wife, as well as third miss to the Bai family. Master asked you not to forget to go to Shenghua Villa. Madam asked you to give these gifts to Mrs. Liu. The butler took a box from the table and handed it to him. He opened it and saw a pearl necklace and a pair of matching pearl earrings. Bailey Yun's eyes flashed with a touch of ridicule. Bai Jinxiu, who had always despised him and his mother, was now acting like a generous wife. She even gave his mother expensive jewelry. What was this? Showing off. Bailey Yun threw the box to the passenger seat and drove to Shenghua Villa where Lu Xiaoxiao lived. The Bai family. Bai Jinxiu's mother's family was also a very prestigious family in City A. Bai Jinxiu's grandfather, Old Master Bai, was a famous scholar in the Republic of China. Her father, Old Master Bai, was the president of a key university in a city. Xia Dong had seen Old Master Bai and Old Madam Bai at the wedding banquet. The two elders were kind, generous, and easy to get along with. So this time, she didn't have any psychological pressure to visit the Bai family with her parents-in-law. Sister, brother-in-law, you're here. Please come in. Bai Jinxiu's brother, Bai Wanli, and his wife greeted them at the gate. The adults exchanged greetings for a while. The three children politely stepped forward and bowed. They said in unison, Uncle, Aunt, Happy New Year. Good. The three children are getting cuter and cuter. Madam Bai smiled and gave each of them a red envelope. The three children politely thanked her. The children of the Bai family also came forward to greet Bailey Xiong and the others. Bai Jinxiu also praised them with a smile and gave them red envelopes. Old Master Bai and Old Madam Bai were still in good health. When the two elders saw their daughter's family coming to visit, their eyebrows were full of smiles. Especially old Madame Bai, when she saw that the relationship between her daughter and son-in-law seemed to have improved, she couldn't close her mouth. The family sat together and chatted for a while. Old Madame Bai asked Bai Li Han's cousin, Bai Zhe, to lead the young people to have some fun. The elders stayed in the living room and chatted. Xiao Yi and her siblings also ran to the backyard to play under the guidance of the children of the Bai family. After lunch, Bai Li Xiong accompanied his father-in-law to play chess. Old Madame Bai took her daughter into her daughter's former boudoir and secretly asked her, "I see that Xiong treats you well now. Is he still in contact with the woman outside?" Bai Jinxiu shook her head. "Not completely, but he shouldn't have much nostalgia. That's about it. After all, they still have a son." Jinxiu listened to Mom's advice. "Don't be too strong in the future. When it's time to be soft, do it." "Mom, I know. I'm already a grandmother now. If I don't grow up, the children will laugh at me." "That's right. If you save his face outside, he'll naturally give you face when you're at home." The villa next to the Bai family was the home of old Master Bai's younger brother, Bai Zongtang. Before Bai Jinxiu got married, she was very close to Bai Zongtang's family. Every year when she returned home during the spring festival, she would visit them with gifts. This year was no exception. As the younger generation, Bai Li Han and Xia Dong naturally had to go with them. Xia Dong didn't expect to see Bai Meiwei here. Bai Meiwei was sitting on the sofa. She was wearing a white wool skirt and a pink silk scarf. Her long hair was tied up high, and there was a sweet smile on her face. She looked elegant and generous. Beside her sat a hale and hearty old man with white hair. It was Bai Jinxiu's second uncle, Bai Zongtang. When she heard the servant's announcement, Bai Meiwei helped the old man stand up and smiled politely. "Aunt Jinxiu, uncle-in-law, cousin Han, cousin-in-law." Xia Dong felt as if she had fallen into the clouds. What was going on? Bai Meiwei was actually Bai Zongtang's granddaughter? She was even related to her. She couldn't believe it. On the other side, Bai Jinxiu was already chatting with Bai Zongtang. Bai Li Han supported Xia Dong's waist and went forward to greet Bai Zongtang. Xia Dong followed Bai Li Han and called him granduncle. Bai Zongtang looked at Xia Dong and smiled kindly. "So this is Han's wife. This is the first time I've seen you." Bai Zongtang and Old Master Bai were both very kind. Bai Jinxiu and the others chatted with him. Xia Dong maintained a smile on her face, but she was actually thinking about something. She inadvertently looked up and saw Bai Meiwei. She happened to be looking at Xia Dong with a strange expression. Xia Dong leaned against the balcony and admired the scenery. Bai Meiwei walked up behind her. "I didn't expect to see you here." Xia Dong turned to look at her. There was a kind smile on her beautiful face, but in Xia Dong's eyes, that smile was extremely dazzling. "I didn't expect it either." Bai Meiwei pursed her lips and smiled. "I heard that Yi Siki and Lin Shihao are getting a divorce." Xia Dong's eyes narrowed. Her voice was cold. "All of this is thanks to you." She smiled lightly and didn't feel guilty or embarrassed at all. "A fly doesn't bite a flawless egg. If there was no problem between them, how could I have ruined it?" Xia Dong sneered. "Yes, someone is willing to be that disgusting fly. Even a flawless egg would have a hole in it. Since that's the case, I don't want that bad egg." Bai Meiwei's eyes flashed with anger. "No matter what, I'm the winner." Ad. Xinwu 799. Chapter 316. Xia Dong smirked. "Are you so sure that Lin Shihao will marry you after the divorce?" Bai Meiwei pursed her lips. "Of course." "Oh, then congratulations. You're finally going to be the mistress." Xia Dong's tone was full of sarcasm. "You want to use me to make Siki sad? You're too naive." Xia Dong and Bai Meiwei didn't have much interaction to begin with, but Bai Meiwei had taken the initiative to talk to her about Yi Siki and Lin Shihao. Her intentions couldn't be more obvious. She wanted to use Xia Dong's mouth to convey these words to Siki and make her sad. Bai Meiwei's eyes flashed and she smirked. "You two are really good sisters." Xia Dong chuckled. "A person like you is only fit to be friends with Su Xingchen. What's the saying again? Birds of a feather flock together." Bai Meiwei clenched her fists. Her eyes were filled with anger, as though she was trying her best to suppress it. Xiaodong said mildly. By Meiwei, I really sympathize with you. After Xiaodong said this, she ignored her and walked past her. Bai Meiwei's sharp voice came from behind her. What do you mean? Xiaodong didn't even turn her head as she said coldly. Am I not clear enough? Are you a trash collector? You pick up the things that others throw away like they're treasures. So I sympathize with you. She walked straight ahead. Bai Meiwei was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Her hands were clenched into fists. Xiaodong walked out of the room, and Bailey Han appeared from the doorway in a flash. He held her waist, and with a smirk on his lips he said in a low voice, I'm starting to feel lucky that my wife's sharp tongue isn't used against me. Humph, Xiaodong snorted coldly. Because she was in a bad mood, she vented her anger on him and pinched his waist. Men are all bad. As long as the red flag at home doesn't fall, the red flag outside is always swaying. Honey, you've wronged me. The man standing in front of you is definitely a good man. Bailey Han hugged her tightly and led her down the stairs. Xiaodong looked up at him with a gentle smile on his handsome face, as if he would tolerate her no matter how she threw a tantrum. She couldn't help but rub his face and snorted. Your performance is not bad for the time being, but you still have to go through a long-term test. He stroked her hair as if he was comforting a pet. Don't worry. The sun and the moon can bear witness to my feelings for you. Mushy. She rolled her eyes at him, but the corners of her lips curled up. After returning home, Xiaodong was still brooding over this matter. Hubby, I didn't expect that Bai Meiwei and you were actually relatives. Why didn't you tell me before? You're still thinking about this? Bailey Han helped her take off her coat and hung it on the hanger. I don't like her. I hate her. It was this hateful woman who caused the breakdown of Siki and Lin Shihao's relationship. You never asked about it. Why did I remember to tell you about those irrelevant people? Bailey Han ruffled her hair helplessly. Don't be angry, okay? Irrelevant people? Aren't you relatives? Xiaodong glared at him. Her father, Bai Jiyao, is just an adopted son of my maternal uncle and grandfather. He rarely interacts with us. Bai Meiwei is even more out of the question. I almost forgot that I had a relative like her. Bailey Han kissed her cheek. Do you feel better now? Yeah, a little better. She opened her arms and hugged him, rubbing against his chest. She gritted her teeth and said, I hate mistresses. I hate mistresses too. Let's not talk to her anymore. He sat on the sofa and helped her onto his lap. Yeah, okay. As something seemed to be wrong. Xiaodong suddenly looked down and realized that someone was burying his head in her neck. The corner of her mouth twitched. Hubby, what are you doing? It's obvious that I'm planting strawberries. He sucked on the delicate skin of her neck. She was speechless. I'm talking to you very seriously now. He continued to plant strawberries. I'm also proving my loyalty to you very seriously. His hand caressed her soft skin, and she couldn't help but shiver. You don't have to do this to prove your loyalty. Of course you do, because it only reacts to you. He deliberately rubbed that hot part of his body against her waist. Xiaodong's cheeks were red, and she couldn't help but hug his waist. Who knows? You and Su Yinqian have been together for so many years. Are you jealous? Bailey Han bit her red lips, and his laughter was deep and pleasant. I'm not jealous. Xiaodong turned her head away, not wanting to let him have his way. Unexpectedly, her earlobe rubbed against his lips. He licked it gently, and an electric shock immediately passed through her body. His hands became even more unrestrained, and his low voice was bewitching. Back then, you didn't just steal my clothes, you also stole something else. What? She raised her beautiful neck, and her eyes were a little dazed. My first time. He suddenly lowered his head and bit her red fruit. She trembled sensitively, and her hands hugged him tightly, but her mouth was still unforgiving. Even if what you said is true. In those 5 years, you didn't touch Su Yinqian? Can you bear it? That's why I said it only has feelings for you. He held her waist and adjusted his position. No way, it's so magical. Xiaodong felt like she had been deceived by him, but she didn't have time to think about it, because a certain someone was already up to no good. You don't do it here. We've never done it on the sofa. A certain someone didn't listen to her protests at all, and had already started to use actions to prove his loyalty to her. Half an hour later, Xiaodong sobbed. Hubby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted your loyalty to me. Bailey Han said. There's more. Another half an hour passed. Xiaodong said, Hubby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted that it wasn't your first time. Bailey Han said. There's more. An hour passed. Xiaodong said, Bailey Han, are you done? Bailey Han said, I'm not done. Hubby, let me go. I believe that you haven't touched Su Yinqian in the past 5 years. I believe that you only have one woman, and that's me. You really believe me? Yes, yes, I swear. Are you done? Bear with it a little longer. Soon. Bailey Han, you lied to me. I was wrong. Okay, baby. After this tragic lesson, Xiaodong no longer dared to doubt Bailey Han's loyalty to her, nor did she dare to suspect that he had touched other women. When she woke up the next day, Xiaodong's legs were weak. She really wanted to lie down like this for the whole day, but today was the second day of the new year, and the family of 6 had to go to her aunt's house to pay a New Year's visit. She had no choice but to support her waist and force herself to get up. When she got out of bed, her legs were trembling and she almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Bailey Han came out of the bathroom and quickly supported her. He had the faint fragrance of a shower on his body. He laughed softly and said, Do you want me to help you wash up? Go away. Xiaodong pushed him angrily. It's all your fault. Why was it so unfair? They had clearly exercised for a long time, and he was the one who exercised. He was full of energy, but she was listless. After soaking in a hot bath, she felt much more comfortable. However, it was getting late, and they had to hurry up and leave. The couple took the 4 children and drove to Xia Yun's house. After the Rolls-Royce drove out of the manor's gate, a white Maserati parked in the distance slowly followed behind them. Bailey Han quickly realized that someone was following them. His deep eyes flashed and the corners of his lips curved. Dear, hold on tight. And the 3 little guys behind us, sit tight. Xiaobao shouted. Dad, what are you doing? Bailey Han chuckled. Getting rid of the annoying flies behind us. Someone is following us? Xiaobao craned her neck and looked back. She saw a white Maserati not far from them. Everyone sit tight. Bailey Han sped up and the car immediately flew out like an arrow. They were already not far from the city, and the number of cars started to increase. He shuttled through the traffic with ease and took a few turns. When he finally drove to the main road, the person behind the car had already disappeared. Dad, have you gotten into trouble again recently? Xiaobao's beautiful big eyes blinked. Bailey Han chuckled. Recently, I've angered the group of old men on the board of directors at most. They won't go so far as to follow me. Xiaodong pursed her lips and her expression did not look too good. She suspected that the person following behind them might be Xiaobao's biological mother, Suzuki Qian Sakura. Suzuki Qian Sakura had said that after the spring festival, she would take Xiaobao away, so it was very likely that she had already arrived in a city. Bailey Han glanced at Xiaodong. Dear. Xiaodong looked up blankly. What's wrong with you? You don't look too good. Xiaodong smiled. It's nothing. Maybe the car was driving too fast just now. I feel a little uncomfortable. Do you want to stop and rest for a while? Bailey Han looked worried. It's okay, I'm much better now. Besides, we're almost at Aunt's house. Xiaodong quickly changed the topic. Hubby, I heard from Aunt that cousin Gao Feng has also come back to visit his family this year. Didn't you say that he works at the American National Defense Research Institution? Is the American side willing to let him return? It was already incredible that the American government was willing to use Chinese people to do that kind of confidential research work, let alone let him return to visit his family. Yes, I also think it's very strange, but this also shows that cousin is very powerful. Otherwise, the American government would not agree to let him return to China in order to appease him. Xiaodong's brows were filled with pride. When she was young, Gao Feng was her idol. This was the first time Gao Feng had returned to China to visit his family after going abroad. This time, not only did he come back, he also brought his wife, a beautiful American woman, Joanna, who was also his colleague. It was said that they had just gotten married last year. Because the government kept it a secret, Gao Feng was not allowed to tell his family. After a year of hard work, Gao Feng persuaded the authorities to bring his wife back to China to visit his family. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 317. Although Xia Dong and Gao Feng hadn't seen each other for 7 years, they quickly warmed up to each other because of their blood ties. In order to get closer to her husband's family, Xiao Anna had specially learned Chinese for a period of time. Although she wasn't very fluent, she could communicate with everyone. She especially liked children. When others were chatting, she would hang out with Xiao Yi and the other 3 little guys. She spoke broken Chinese and played games with them. The children laughed kindly and helped her to correct her pronunciation. She would smile brightly and say thank you with perfect pronunciation, making everyone laugh. The family was happy and harmonious, and the laughter was endless. When they parted, Xia Dong was a little reluctant. Gao Feng hugged her and said goodbye with a gentle smile. Xia, I'm often not in China. I'll have to trouble you to take care of Mom and Dad. Xia Dong said with a smile. Cousin, you're treating me like an outsider. In my heart, Aunt and Uncle are my biological parents. I'll definitely take good care of them. Don't worry and work hard abroad. Don't embarrass the Chinese. Gao Feng nodded and turned his gaze to Bailey Han. Han, treat Xia well. Bailey Han smiled. I will. After Xiao Anna said goodbye to the couple, she hugged the 3 children reluctantly. On the way home, the Maserati didn't appear again. Xia Dong also made up her mind that she would tell Bailey Han the truth tonight. On the other side, Bailey Yin had already driven out. He had already arranged a meeting place with Li Duobao. When his car drove to the meeting place, he saw a girl in a yellow wool coat standing by the street. She wore a pink hat, her neat fringe covered her eyebrows, and a white scarf wrapped around her neck. She stood there obediently with a peaceful smile on her lips. She was like a bright ray of sunshine in the cold winter, attracting the attention of passers-by. Bailey Yin opened the car door and walked to her side. He said with a hint of reproach, "Why didn't you wait inside? It's so cold outside." Behind her was a cafe. Li Duobao stuck out his tongue. "I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to find me." Bailey Yin raised his eyebrows. "I'm not an idiot like you." It seemed that the more familiar he was with her, the more he liked to provoke her. She pouted but did not refute. "Why aren't you talking?" Li Duobao frowned. "Because you're telling the truth. I have no reason to refute." Bailey Yin couldn't help but laugh. "Silly girl, I didn't expect you to be so self-aware." She smiled brightly. You said that this is my greatest strength." He rubbed his chin. "She's wrong." "What's wrong?" She blinked in confusion. He looked at her sparkling eyes and smirked. "Your greatest strength is that you're silly." She turned her head away and silently shed tears. Did he need to remind her of every sentence? This was too much. "Let's go, silly girl." Bailey Yin suddenly grabbed her cold hand and led her to the car. Li Duobao's face suddenly turned red like a big apple. She lowered her head and stared at their hands. You let go of me." Bailey Yin ignored her. He dragged her to the car and opened the door for her. "Get in." Li Duobao bit her lip and sat in the front passenger seat. Bailey Yin sat beside her. She immediately turned her head to the window and scratched the car door gently with her fingers. Bailey Yin was an expert in love. How could he not know that she was shy now? He chuckled and said, "Have you booked a restaurant?" She still didn't dare to look at him. "Yes." "Do you eat spicy food?" "Yes, I can." "That's good. The restaurant is called Spicy Space. It's at Zinjiku." Bailey Yin booked the GPS and started the car. He turned to look at her. She was leaning against the car door and curled up into a small ball. She looked as cute as a fur ball. He coughed. "No way. Didn't I just touch your hand? Do you have to stay so far away from me?" She was silent for a while and said gloomily, "Other than my father, you're the first man to hold my hand." Bailey Yin was stunned. "Haven't you been in love before?" He still remembered the story she had told him before. The man she had a crush on had confessed to her because of a bet with someone else. He thought that she was pretty and had a good personality. There should be many people who liked her. She lowered her head and said in a muffled voice, "I've only been in love once. That was the time I told you. He has never held my hand." He thought for a while and apologized solemnly. "I'm sorry," she said. "Oh." He frowned. "What does "oh" mean?" "It means that I've forgiven you." She suddenly turned her head and looked at him seriously with her clear black and white eyes. "Bai Liyun, don't do this again. I'll misunderstand." Although she was silly, she was still a girl. She would also misunderstand because of some of his actions. Her serious expression was very similar to a certain person's. Their silly looks were also very similar. Out of the blue, Bai Liyun said something that shocked even himself. "Li Duobao, let's go out." Li Duobao's eyes widened. You say that again." She thought she had heard wrongly. Bai Liyun pursed his lips. He had already realized that he had said something unbelievable. However, since it wasn't that person, it didn't matter who it was. He said slowly, "Let's date." Li Duobao trembled. She hadn't heard wrongly. She rejected him without hesitation. "I object." Bai Liyun looked at her in surprise. "Why? I'm handsome, rich and likable. What's wrong with that?" Li Duobao almost fainted. "That's the problem. You're handsome, rich and likable. Why do you like me? I don't want to play emotional games with you." Bai Liyun's deep eyes stared at her. The corners of his lips curled up. He didn't expect this silly girl to be so smart. "Okay, pretend I didn't say that. That's good. In short, I'm not a casual person." Li Duobao was too shocked and patted her little heart. Bai Liyun didn't say anything else until the car arrived at the destination. He opened the car door for her and suddenly whispered in her ear, "You deserve better." "What do you mean?" Li Duobao frowned. She didn't understand why he said that. He smiled but didn't say anything. He walked straight ahead. She quickly chased after him. The spicy space was a hot pot restaurant. It wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. The decoration was warm, and it was very clean. Even though it was the new year, there were still a lot of customers here. The atmosphere was very good as the family gathered around the hot pot. Li Duobao had booked a seat in advance. The waiter led them into the private room. The private room was very warm. They took off their coats and hung them on the hanger at the door. Li Duobao was wearing a white lace dress inside. With her hair tied into a bun, she looked as cute as a princess. Bai Liyun was wearing a black sweater. It was very tight and outlined the lines of his chest. He had handsome features and looked very thin. Li Duobao didn't expect him to have a good figure. Li Duobao inadvertently glanced at his chest and quickly looked away shyly. She pushed the menu in front of Bai Liyun and said generously, "Order whatever you like. Don't stand on ceremony with me." Bai Liyun raised his eyebrows. "I can eat a lot." She patted her chest heroically. "It's okay. Leave it to me." He glanced at her chest and couldn't help but laugh. "Don't pat it. It's getting smaller." Li Duobao's cheeks were tinged with a faint pink. She snorted. "Pervert." He laughed. His voice was magnetic and happy. They ordered a double-flavored pot. Li Duobao loved spicy food. Before cooking, she asked Bai Liyun for his opinion. He smiled and said that he could eat spicy food too. Thus, she poured most of the food into the spicy soup. The bottom of the pot was steaming and the water was boiling. The vegetables were already cooked and emitted a tempting fragrance. Li Duobao pitifully waited for Bai Liyun to start first. Bai Liyun raised his eyebrows and picked up some vegetables from the spicy soup. He rolled the vegetables in the sesame sauce. When the temperature dropped, he slowly put it into his mouth. He chewed a mouthful. His slender eyebrows furrowed and quickly relaxed. Li Duobao looked at him eagerly. "How is it? Is it good?" Bai Liyun swallowed the vegetables in his mouth and drank a mouthful of drink. "It's a little spicy." Actually, it was very spicy. He could barely feel his mouth. She frowned in distress. "I forgot to tell you that this is an authentic Chongqing hot pot. The chili is very strong. How about this? You can eat the non-spicy food over there." Bai Liyun raised his eyebrows and smiled. "I can eat spicy food, but in front of you, I can't eat spicy food. Come eat this." Li Duobao used clean chopsticks that hadn't picked up any food before and picked up some food from the clear soup into his bowl. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and eat. You're obviously drooling. He teased her. No way, she muttered unhappily. Her chopsticks had already reached into the red soup and picked up a large portion of it into her bowl. Wow, it's so delicious. It's so spicy. Li Duobao ate contentedly. Her eyes were sparkling, and her pink lips were red from the spiciness. It was as if she had been kissed hard. Bailey Yin was drinking water. He was agitated by this sudden thought and almost choked. He tilted his head and coughed nonstop. Li Duobao quickly put down her chopsticks and patted his back. Then she pulled his ear. Are you better now? Bailey Yin stopped coughing. His handsome face was red from coughing, and his eyes were misty as he stared at her. She felt uncomfortable being stared at by him. She let go of her hand embarrassedly. I'm sorry. When I was young I choked. My mother helped me pull my ear. She said it helped relieve the pain. He grinned. No wonder. I suddenly feel that you look like my mother. It hurts my self-esteem. Li Duobao moved her but silently and sat back in her seat. Attention Songshu 566. Chapter 318. Li Duobao hugged his round belly and followed behind Bailey Yin. He climbed into the Ferrari and stretched his body in satisfaction. It's so delicious. My whole body is warm now. It's great. Bailey Yin raised his fox-like eyes slightly and laughed. You're really easy to take care of. As long as there's chili for every meal, I won't starve to death. She stared at him with a smile. Are you full? I'm barely full. He smiled mischievously. But seeing someone eating so happily like a little pig, I'm full too. Li Duobao sweated. He put his hands together and said pitifully, I'm sorry. Next time I'll definitely not bring you to eat such spicy food. There's a next time? He raised an eyebrow and his lips curled into a mischievous smile. Are you asking me out? I just said it casually. As if he didn't hear her, he continued. Okay, let's go for Western food next time. I'll be the host. I already said that I just said it casually. It's still early. Do you want to watch a movie? Watch a movie. Bailey Yin nodded. Yeah, don't tell me you've never watched a movie in the cinema before. Li Duobao smiled sheepishly. I just didn't expect you to suggest such a pure way to pass the time. He raised an eyebrow. How do you think I'll pass the time? Nightclubs, clubbing, and so on. That's what the newspapers and magazines used to write about. Second young Master Bailey frequented nightclubs to seek pleasure. She said the last few words very softly, but he still heard it clearly. He laughed. Seems like I'm already famous. Even you've seen my glorious deeds. Li Duobao was a little embarrassed. Don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything else. He nodded seriously. I know. With your limited brain capacity, you can't possibly have any other ideas. You don't have to retaliate like this. As they chatted, Bailey Yin had already arrived at the entrance of the largest movie theater in the city. Thinking back, he really didn't do such a pure pastime. Most of the time, he would find someone he liked in a bar, and then carry her to bed. There were many promotional posters in the corridor. Bailey Yin put his hands in his pockets and smiled casually. Which one do you want to watch? Human Skin in 4. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Li Duobao excitedly pointed at a horror movie poster. The corner of his mouth twitched. Change it. Why? I love horror movies. I want to watch a horror movie. Bailey Yin clenched his right fist and coughed. He looked a little embarrassed. I don't like it. Li Duobao suddenly realized and shouted. You don't dare to watch horror movies. He quickly covered her mouth. Keep your voice down. It was very embarrassing for a man to not dare to watch a horror movie. She blinked and signaled for him to let go. The lips under his palm were soft and felt good to the touch. He reluctantly retracted his hand. So let's change to another movie. She looked dejected. Alright then. How about that sci-fi movie? He knocked on her forehead. I thought romantic movies were your style. She was still depressed because she couldn't watch the movie she liked. She looked up and bared her teeth at him. What's so good about romantic movies? They only make girls cry. I just don't want you to watch a horror movie. Is there a need to show me such a bitter and vengeful face? Okay, I'll listen to you and watch a horror movie. Bailey Yun naturally held her hand and walked to the ticket counter. Halfway there, he suddenly realized that something was wrong and quickly let go of her hand. Li Duobao stared at him with a pair of sparkling eyes. I was careless and forgot about it. Bailey Yun's charming foxy eyes blinked. He reached out his hand and smiled mischievously. At most, you can hold my hand and I'll make it up to you. Do you really think I'm an idiot? Li Duobao slapped his hand away and rushed forward like a cannonball. He quickly jogged to catch up with her. Don't be angry. I didn't do it on purpose. She suddenly stopped in her tracks and quickly turned around. He ran too fast and couldn't stop in time. His hard chest bumped into her small nose. She covered her nose and wailed. I'm sorry. Let me see if there's a nosebleed. He hurriedly cupped her face, grabbed her hand, and moved it away from her face. Her nose was red, but fortunately there was no nosebleed. She was in so much pain that her face scrunched up. She gritted her teeth and complained. Why are you so close to me? Don't be angry. Be good. He stroked her hair as if he was stroking Daodu, soothing her hair. She stared at him with her big beautiful eyes. Take your hand back. I'm okay. 2 steps away from me. I'm okay. He moved according to her instructions. He was so obedient that he didn't look like Bailey Yun at all. The two of them walked to the ticket counter. Li Duobao took out his wallet. Miss, please give me 2 adult tickets for X-Men. Okay, let's go. She turned around and waved the movie tickets in her hand. He looked at her deeply. Didn't you say you wanted to watch a horror movie? She puffed up her cheeks. Didn't you say you didn't like it? A warm smile appeared in his eyes, and the corners of his lips curled up. Bailey Yun held popcorn in one hand and a drink in the other. He shuttled through the dark cinema with her and found a seat. It was a 3D movie, and the visual effects were quite good. The scene was grand, and Li Duobao was attracted by the exciting plot. He almost forgot about the popcorn in his hand. Bailey Yun reached out to grab a handful of popcorn from her arms from time to time, and chewed happily. Seeing that she was attracted by the movie, he had the idea of pranking her. He pinched a piece of popcorn in his hand and quietly put it to her lips. He whispered, "Open your mouth." She stared at the screen and didn't even look at his hand. Gigai opened her mouth, but he didn't put the popcorn in her mouth. Instead, he suddenly retracted his hand and put it in his own mouth. Li Duobao waited for a while, but there was no movement. She turned around and saw a certain someone chewing popcorn happily. His eyes were sparkling as he stared at her and smiled. He was obviously proud of his successful prank. Childish, she said angrily. She grabbed a handful of popcorn from the paper bag and chewed it as if she was taking revenge. The Ferrari stopped below Li Duobao's house. After the two of them said goodbye, Li Duobao waved and turned to leave. Bailey Yun looked at her round back and suddenly shouted, "Li Duobao." Huh? She looked back at him with a blank face. A warm smile appeared in his eyes, and his voice was gentle and magnetic. Thank you. I haven't been so happy in a long time. She was stunned. Her eyes curved and 2 cute dimples appeared on her face. You're welcome. She waved again and hummed a tune as she ran away. Bai Li Yun patted his forehead. He felt as if he was going to fall ill. He actually felt that this silly chick was very cute. Bailey Yun drove the Ferrari back to the old mansion and hummed a tune as he walked upstairs. His phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number, and a familiar woman's voice came from it. Bailey Yun, I want to see you. Bailey Yun said lazily. There are many women who want to see me. Tell me a reason why I must see you. The woman chuckled. We met at Seductive Charm. I'm Sophia. His tone was indifferent. We don't have anything in common. There's no need to meet again. Her voice was lazy and gentle. I don't think so. I know a secret about you. If you don't come, you might not know it for the rest of your life. I'm not interested. It's related to 5 years ago when you were in America. You took drugs and went to jail. This matter is more interesting than the two things I just said. Are you really not willing to hear it? Her voice was soft and seductive, but in his ears, it was extremely cold. He suddenly tightened his grip on the phone, and his voice was cold. Location? Outside the manor, turn right for 100 meters. Bailey Yin put on the coat that he had just taken off, and walked out of the manor with steady steps. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were cold. After leaving the manor, he turned right for 100 meters. A white Maserati was parked by the roadside. He knocked on the window of the back seat, and the car door was unlocked. He opened the door from the outside. The air conditioner was on in the car, and it was very warm. Sophia was wearing a low-cut black dress that exposed a large area of her chest, and her deep cleavage was faintly discernible. The dress just covered her buttocks, and her slender legs were crossed. Her black stockings gave off a seductive glow under the dim light. Her red lips parted slightly, and her slender fingers patted the seat beside her. She smiled flirtatiously. Come and sit. Bailey Yin glanced at her indifferently, and sat down beside her. Tell me, why did you call me here? She leaned against him softly and wrapped her arms around his waist. She hugged him tightly and said in a gentle voice, Yun, don't be so cold. No matter what, we were once husband and wife for a period of time. Bailey Yun's body stiffened, and he suddenly reached out, pinched her chin, and pulled her face closer to the light to look at it carefully. It was a very delicate and beautiful face, but unfortunately, he did not have any impression of it. His slender fox eyes narrowed dangerously. Who are you? She chuckled. You already don't remember my English name, but do you still remember my Japanese name? I'm Suzuki Chien Sakura. You used to call me Chien Sakura. Suzuki Chien Sakura. Bailey Yin frowned, and tried hard to dig out the name in his mind. It seemed a little familiar, but he could not remember. You actually can't remember me. Sigh, I'm so sad. Suzuki Chien Sakura hugged him and leaned her head on his chest. Yun, it seems that you used to have too many women. Bailey Yin did not deny it. When he was first sent to America by Bailey's family, he lived a very long life of debauchery. He took drugs, had promiscuous relationships, gambled, and mingled with people in the underworld. He had done all these things, and the number of women he had slept with was uncountable. Add Xinwu 799. Chapter 319. Her slender fingers were nimbly caressing his chest as they wandered about. Bailey Yin grabbed her wrist and said, So you're saying that you're the woman I had a one-night stand with before? Suzuki Chien Sakura looked up and blew hot air into his ear. She chuckled. It wasn't a one-night stand. We fooled around for at least a month. But it's a pity that you don't remember. Bailey Yin pinched his eyebrows. I really don't remember. Make it clear. Chien Sakura chuckled. 6 years ago you were studying in the United States, and I was also studying there. We met in a bar, and we fooled around for more than a month. Later, you hooked up with a waitress from the United Kingdom, and you dumped me. Do you remember? Bailey Yin smiled bitterly. Sorry. Forget it. I didn't expect you to remember. Suzuki Chien Sakura stroked his handsome face and smiled. Bailey Yin looked down at her. You came to find me to rekindle our relationship? She narrowed her eyes and there was a strange glint in them. That's only one of my goals. There's another goal. I want to tell you something. He raised his eyebrows and motioned for her to continue. She smiled ambiguously and stroked his lips. There was once when you didn't wear a condom, and I forgot to take the morning after pill. I got pregnant. Bailey Yun's eyes narrowed and he said, and then? She played it down as if it had nothing to do with her. Then, I went back to Japan and gave birth to the child. He's already 5 years old now. Bailey Yun felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His heart almost stopped beating, and all the blood in his body rushed to his head. His fingers trembled slightly. After a while, he found his voice. You're saying that I already have a child now? Yes, it's a son. Are you happy? She wrapped her soft body around him. He pushed her away abruptly. His gaze was fierce and malicious as he pinched her chin with one hand. What are you trying to do by telling me all this now? A sharp pain came from her chin. and she couldn't help but frown. It hurts. Loosen up a little. Answer me, he roared. He didn't loosen his grip, but instead increased it. She sucked in a few breaths of cold air, and said while enduring the pain, "The child is already grown up. He can't live without a father. How about we start over?" Impossible. He refused without hesitation. Why? You liked me a lot back then. Her eyes were misty, making her look pitiful. However, there was no pity in his heart. He sneered and said, "Back then? Don't you know what kind of person I was back then? It was just a game." How could he have fallen in love with her? I advise you to dispel those thoughts as soon as possible. He flung her away and took out a handkerchief from his pocket. He carefully wiped his fingers as if they were stained with something dirty. Suzuki Chisakura clenched her fists. "Don't tell me you don't care about your son anymore?" Bailey Yin opened the car door and stepped out. He turned back to look at her. In the darkness, his expression couldn't be seen clearly. "I'll give you a sum of alimony. How much do you want? Just tell me." Suzuki Chisakura jumped out of the car agitatedly. "No, I don't want money. I just want our family of 3 to be reunited." He tidied his clothes slowly and said indifferently, "You're thinking too much. Think of a sum and let me know within 3 days." He didn't look at her anymore and turned to leave. She called his name a few times, but he ignored her. She angrily returned to the car and slammed the door. Bailey Yin looked calm on the surface, but his mind was in a mess. He actually had a 5-year-old son. He couldn't believe it. No, he had to calm down. He had no impression of this woman. Even if they had lived together before, it didn't mean that what she said was true. When she contacted him again, he had to get her to show him evidence. Even if he comforted himself like this, Bailey Yin was still annoyed. He took a bottle of wine and a wine glass from the wine rack and screwed it up in his bedroom. On the other side, Xia Dong was also annoyed and uneasy. She wrung her fingers and sat at the head of the bed, waiting for Bailey Han to come out of the bathroom. Bailey Han was wearing a bathrobe. He wiped his hair with a towel and sat at the head of the bed. "Honey, why aren't you asleep yet?" She bit her lip. "Hubby, I have something to tell you." He looked into her eyes. "Speak. I'm listening." She opened her mouth but couldn't say the words. In the end, she pulled his sleeve with a sad face. "Hubby, if I'm hiding something from you, and it's very important, will you be angry with me?" Bailey Han put the towel aside and stroked her hair. He said softly, "If you don't want to say it, then don't. Tell me when you've thought it through." She shook her head. She was so anxious that she was about to cry. "No, if I don't say it now, I'm afraid it'll be too late. What if that woman named Suzuki Chisakura suddenly came to the house and made a scene, saying that Xiao Bao was her child? What should she do?" Bailey Han reached out and hugged her. He comforted her. "I won't be angry. Tell me what happened." "You can't be angry." "Okay, I won't be angry." Xia Dong closed her eyes and told him everything in one go. "When Grandma took Xiaoyi away from my arms, I was very sad and kept thinking about him. In the end, Brother Shin came up with an idea. We went to the orphanage to adopt a child about the same age as Xiaoyi. This way, I could ease my longing for Xiaoyi. That child was Xiao Bao. Now, Xiao Bao's biological mother came looking for Xiao Bao. She wants Xiao Bao back. That's what happened. Hubby, you promised me that you wouldn't be angry." She grabbed onto his bathrobe pitifully, not daring to open her eyes to look at him. But she could feel that Bailey Han's entire body had stiffened. He held her hand very tightly. He kept silent. After about 10 seconds, his body started to tremble slightly. At this moment, she realized that the man who had withstood the storm for her actually had a weak side. Her heart ached for him. She hugged him tightly and kept saying, "I'm sorry, hubby. I should have told you earlier. I've always treated Xiao Bao as my biological son, so I didn't realize it. I should have told you. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry." He kept silent and only hugged her tightly. Xia Dong was very scared. She opened her eyes and looked up at him. She saw an extremely gloomy face. His thin lips were tightly pursed and his deep eyes were staring straight ahead as if he had lost his soul. She burst into tears. "Hubby, don't scare me. If you're angry, just hit me or scold me. Don't ignore me. Bailey Han finally spoke. His voice was dry and a little cold. You should have told me earlier. I'm sorry, hubby. Xiaodong hugged him tightly. She was afraid that he would get angry and push her away and ignore her. Bailey Han felt as if there was a huge rock pressing down on his heart. It was extremely uncomfortable. However, when he lowered his head and saw that the little woman in his arms had tears all over her face and her eyes were filled with fear, a part of his heart softened. He sighed softly and stroked her hair. His voice also became gentler. Don't cry. Hubby. Her careful gaze made his heart soften even more. He reached out to wipe away the tears on her face and said gently, Since you adopted Xiaobao, why did the DNA test show that he and I are biological father and son? Her eyes suddenly widened. DNA test? When did you do it? How did this happen? Bailey Han's eyes moved. He quickly understood that Xiaobao had done the DNA test without her knowing. He explained. Not long after you returned to China, Xiaobao did a DNA test. According to him, he picked up a few strands of hair from my office. God, that guy Xiaobao already knew that Bailey Han wasn't his father. No, that wasn't the main point. The main point was that Bailey Han wasn't his biological father. But why did the DNA test show that they were father and son? She looked at Bailey Han suspiciously and said whimsically, Hubby, don't tell me you had a relationship with a Japanese woman, and she gave birth to Xiaobao and I coincidentally adopted Xiaobao. His handsome face darkened and he gritted his teeth. Idiot, you're my only woman. Oh hee, I'm just saying. Bailey Han knocked on her forehead. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed and he said in a low voice, Xiaobao only picked up a strand of hair from my office. Who said that it was definitely my hair? Are you saying that someone else's hair could have fallen in your office and been picked up by Xiaobao? Bailey Han nodded. Other than that, I can't think of any other reason. Xiaodong frowned. What do we do now? Xiaobao's biological mother, Suzuki Qian Sakura, said that she would take Xiaobao away after the spring festival. How did she contact you? Tell me in detail. Xiaodong explained the process of Suzuki Qian Sakura contacting her in detail. Finally, she said, Actually, I suspect that the car that followed us today was Suzuki Qian Sakura's car. I'm not ruling out this possibility. Don't worry. If she wants to take Xiaobao away, she will have to meet us eventually. Xiaodong hesitated for a moment and said, What about our family and Xiaobao? Should we tell them the truth? We can't keep this a secret for long. I'll find time tomorrow to tell my family. As for Xiaobao, I'll leave it to you to tell him. Xiaodong's eyes reddened. Xiaobao must be very sad that I cheated on his feelings. Bailey Han could understand that feeling. Just like him, he had always doted on Xiaobao. When he found out that he wasn't his biological son, he was very shocked and very sad. He stroked her long hair and said in a low voice, Whether Xiaobao is our biological son or not, our love for him will never be less. I think he will understand. Awesome novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 320. In the study. Old Madam Dowager, Bailey Xiong, by Jinxiu and Bailey Han sat together. Old Madam Dowager said, Han, why did you call us here? Bailey Han focused and told them about Xiaobao's background. This was like a bolt from the blue, shocking everyone. Old Madam Dowager and the others did not recover from their shock for a long time. How could this be? Are you kidding? Bai Jinxiu stared at her son in disbelief. Didn't you do a paternity test? Bailey Han pinched the space between his eyebrows. Xiaobao just picked up a few strands of hair from my office. I don't think those strands of hair are mine. Bailey Xiong frowned and was in a very bad mood. Then whose are they? The people who come in and out of your office are basically people from your company. Xiaobao was adopted by Xia from Japan. How could it be so coincidental that his father is related to your company? Besides the company's employees, there are also business partners who come in and out of my office. It's not easy to check them one by one. The most important thing now is that Suzuki Chisakura wants to take Xiaobao away. Can we let her take him away? No. Old Madam Dowager, who had been silent all this time, suddenly slammed her hand on the table and said angrily, In my heart, Xiao Bao is a descendant of the Bailey family. I don't agree to hand him over to that Suzuki Chisakura. If she really loved Xiao Bao, she wouldn't have abandoned him years ago. Bailey Xiong sighed. Mom, even if that's the case, Xiao Bao is still Suzuki Chisakura's biological son. We have no reason to stop them from reuniting. If Xiao Bao is willing to be with Suzuki Chisakura, we can't stop them. Why don't we ask for Xiao Bao's opinion first? If Xiao Bao doesn't want to leave, then we'll talk to Suzuki Chisakura and see if we can persuade her to give up custody of Xiao Bao. Bai Jinxiu was very sad. In her heart, the 4 children in the family were all equal. They were all Bailey's treasures. She was reluctant to give Xiao Bao away. Madame Dowager said angrily, "No matter what, I will not agree to send Xiao Bao away." All right, Grandma, let's listen to Mom and ask for Xiao Bao's opinion first. Although the 4 of them had reached a consensus, they did not feel good in their hearts. They all sat in silence, without any movement or words. The atmosphere in the room was heavy. At the same time, Xiaodong also called Xiao Bao out of the living room. The mother and son locked themselves in Xiao Bao's room, facing each other. Mom, if you have something to say, just say it. You've been staring at me for more than 10 minutes. Xiao Bao's little face showed a helpless expression, and his little mouth pouted. Xiaodong pulled his soft little body into her embrace. At this moment, her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. She didn't know how to tell him the truth. Mom, what's wrong? Did you have a quarrel with Dad? Xiao Bao felt something cold and wet fall on his neck. He said indignantly, "You must have quarreled with Dad. Just you wait, I'll avenge you." The little fellow danced with joy, wanting to break free from her arms and avenge her. No, Xiaodong hugged him tightly, and there was a hint of sobbing in her voice. Xiao Bao, listen to Mommy. No matter what you hear later, you have to believe that Mommy and Daddy love you very much, and we will love you forever. Mom, don't cry. Xiao Bao was most afraid of his mother crying. He reached out his little hand and patted her back, carefully coaxing her. Don't cry, don't cry. I know that you and Dad love me. The more sensible he was, the sadder Xiaodong was, and the more she didn't know how to say it. Mom, what's wrong with you? Xiao Bao's pink little face scrunched up. Xiaodong took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She held his weak shoulders and looked into his eyes seriously. Xiao Bao, listen to me. You, she stuttered for a long time, but couldn't finish her sentence. Xiao Bao was anxious. What's wrong with me? You are a child I adopted from an orphanage in Japan. Your biological mother is called Suzuki Chisakura. She contacted me a few days ago and said that she would take you away after the spring festival. Xiaodong finished speaking in one breath. Her hands were tightly gripping Xiao Bao's shoulders, as if she was afraid that he wouldn't be able to accept the truth and would suddenly run away. Xiao Bao was stunned. Then he laughed out loud. Mom, are you kidding me? I'm not kidding you, Xiao Bao. Everything Mommy said is true. Xiaodong held his face. Listen to me, Xiao Bao. No matter what, your daddy and I will always love you. No, I don't believe you. You must be kidding me. I did a paternity test. Daddy and I are father and son. Technology can't lie. Xiao Bao said emotionally. The hair you picked up doesn't belong to Daddy. Xiao Bao, everything I said is true. Xiaodong's eyes were filled with tears. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Xiao Bao covered his ears and shook his head vigorously. Xiao Bao. Xiaodong hugged him. Listen to me. Mommy loves you. Daddy loves you too. Xiao Bao interrupted her angrily and pushed her chest hard. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Go away. I don't want to see you. Xiaodong stroked his back and said gently, Baby, don't be agitated. Calm down first. Get out. I don't want to see you. Xiao Bao's eyes were filled with tears. He bit his lip stubbornly. Okay, I'll go out first. I'll always be your mommy. Xiaodong lowered her head and kissed his forehead. The tears in her eyes fell on his face. She quickly turned around and left with her mouth covered. There was the sound of the door closing. The tears in Xiao Bao's eyes rolled down. He slid from the sofa to the floor. He punched the thick carpet with both hands and wailed loudly. It was dinner time. The butler knocked on the door of each room and invited everyone downstairs to eat. Everyone who knew about Xiaobao's background had no appetite. Old Madam said that she was not feeling well and did not want to go downstairs. She asked the kitchen to make a bowl of millet porridge and send it upstairs. Although Bai Jinxiu and Bailey Xiong were sitting at the dining table, they were also depressed. Bailey Yun and Bailey Jing were meeting with friends and were not at home. The butler knocked on Xiaobao's door for a long time, but no one answered. He felt that something was wrong. He took the spare key from downstairs and opened the door. There was no one in the room. He quickly informed Bailey Han and the others. Bailey Han and Xiaodong hurried upstairs. They looked around the room and found that the small Pikachu backpack that Xiaobao often carried on his back was gone. His small laptop and small mobile phone were also gone. Xiaodong's mind went blank and her face turned pale. Did Xiaobao run away from home? Bailey Han held her hand. Honey, don't worry. Try calling his mobile phone. Oh, okay. Xiaodong quickly picked up the landline and dialed Xiaobao's mobile phone number. Bailey Han informed the butler and called all the servants to the living room. He asked them if they had seen Xiaobao. Everyone shook their heads. Bailey Han's face was terribly dark. He asked the security guard again. The security guard said that he had seen young Master Bao riding an electric bike. He also asked him at that time. Young Master Bao said that his friends were waiting for him outside the manor. He went out to meet his friends and would be back soon. The security guard did not suspect him, so he let him go. Bailey Han was furious and dismissed the security guard on the spot. He ordered someone to check the surveillance video outside the villa and found that Xiaobao went out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At that time, the family was taking a lunch break, and the servants were not in the front hall. No wonder he was not discovered when he ran away from home. Honey, his mobile phone is off. No one is answering. What should we do? Xiaodong was so anxious that she almost lost the ability to think. Bailey Han's lips tightened. Don't worry, honey. You can ask Mika Kito. Yes, Xiaobao and Brother Shen are very close. Maybe he went to look for Brother Shen. Xiaodong's fingers were trembling when she dialed the number. After 2 rings, the call was connected. The first thing she said was, Brother Shen, did Xiaobao look for you? Mika Kito said in a low voice. No. What's wrong? Xiaodong was so anxious that she was about to cry. Xiaobao found out about his identity. He ran away from home. I don't know where he went. If he contacts you, you must keep him calm. I'm afraid that he will do something stupid. Mika Kito's voice changed and sounded a little anxious. I know. I'm still in Rome. I'll immediately mobilize the brothers in a city to find Xiaobao's whereabouts. When Xiaodong called Mika Kito, Bailey Han also notified the Dragon Gang and ordered them to immediately search the city for Xiaobao's whereabouts. All the forces that could be mobilized were mobilized. All that was left was to wait. Xiaodong was worried and guilty. She cried until her voice was hoarse. It's all my fault. If I had been by his side, he wouldn't have had the chance to escape. Bailey Han put his arm around her shoulder and comforted her in a low voice. Honey, don't blame yourself. Xiaobao is so smart. He will be fine. He just couldn't think straight. When he thinks it through, he will definitely contact us. What if he doesn't contact us? Although he's smart, he's still so young. What if he meets bad people? Honey, we love Xiaobao, and Xiaobao loves us very much. He was just being impulsive. When he calms down, he will know that we are very worried about him. He will definitely contact us. Don't scare yourself. Be good. Xiao Yi and Xiao Guai also found out that Xiaobao had run away from home. Both of them found it unbelievable. They wanted to ask why Xiaobao had run away from home, but when they saw how sad and anxious the adults were, they held themselves back. Bai Jinxiu coaxed the 2 little guys back to their room. In the room, Xiao Yi pursed her lips. Her expression was very serious. Xiao Guai's delicate brows were knitted together. She carefully tugged at Xiao Yi's sleeve and asked worriedly, Brother Yi, does brother not want us anymore? Will he meet bad people? Xiao Yi sighed maturely and stroked Xiao Guai's hair. I don't know either. What happened? Why did Xiaobao run away from home? Although he is naughty, he doesn't seem like someone who would do such a thing. Awesome novel Songshu 566. Chapter 321. That night, Bailey Jing and Bailey Yin returned home one after the other. When they heard that Xiao Bao had run away from home, they were very surprised. Their families were not in the mood to explain too much to them, so they still did not know much about Xiao Bao's background. At around 8 o'clock, the Dragon Gang suddenly called. They checked the exit records and found that Xiao Bao had bought a plane ticket to Rome. Bailey Han thought carefully. When Xiao Bao and Xiao Yi went to Rome last time, the tourist visas they applied for had not expired yet. This kid must have taken the visas and ran to Rome. He hurriedly made a call and told Bai Tangshan about this matter. He asked him to contact Xiao Bao no matter what and stabilize Xiao Bao. After knowing Xiao Bao's specific whereabouts, everyone's anxious hearts finally relaxed a little. The old madam had suffered a lot today and was not in good spirits. The servants helped her back to her room to rest. Everyone else also left. Bailey Han came out of the bathroom and saw Xia Dong leaning against the headboard in a daze. He lifted the blanket and leaned against her side. He reached out and pulled her into his arms. "Honey, don't worry. Mika Keto and Godfather already know that Xiao Bao went to Rome. They will take good care of him." Xia Dong leaned against his chest and whispered, "Xiao Bao must be very sad. Xiao Bao must be very sad to suddenly find out that he was a child abandoned by his parents. It must be very difficult for him to accept, so he chose to escape." Bailey Han hugged her tightly and kissed her hair. "Xiao Bao is very strong. He will definitely pull through." She hugged his waist tightly. "Hubby, did I do something wrong? If I had told him earlier, maybe he wouldn't be so sad." "Earlier? When do you mean?" "When we just returned to the country, and before we met you. Now that we've finally reunited as a family, and he has a mommy and a daddy, we're suddenly telling him that we're not his biological parents." "Silly girl, don't blame yourself. This is not your fault. Whether you told him earlier or later, he would have been hurt the same." He hugged her tightly. His voice was low and his eyes were gloomy. "It's not your fault. It's those irresponsible people who abandoned their children. If they did not want to raise the child, why did they have to suffer after giving birth? When the child found happiness, these irresponsible parents jumped out to disturb the child's peaceful life. How despicable." Although they had not met, Bailey Han's heart was already filled with dissatisfaction and anger towards Suzuki's. Speak of the devil. Just as Bailey Han calmed Xia Dong down, Xia Dong's phone rang. It was a text from Suzuki Chisakura. "Let's meet at the Sunshine Cafe tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bailey Han stroked Xia Dong's hair. "Do you need me to accompany you?" Xia Dong shook her head. "I want to meet her alone." "Okay, call me immediately if anything happens." "I'll ask Ahu to follow you just in case." He was worried about that mysterious woman. Xia Dong smiled. "You're exaggerating. Ask Ahu to follow you. Otherwise I'll be worried." He looked serious and did not seem to be joking at all. She could only nod in agreement. Xia Dong woke up at 6 in the morning. She calculated the time and realized that Xiao Bao's plane should have arrived in Rome. She reached out for the phone on the bedside table and waited for Mika Kito's call. Suddenly, a large hand reached in front of her and pulled the blanket up to cover her. She turned around and saw Bailey Han's smiling eyes. She nuzzled in his arms. "Hubby, you're awake too." He let out a low mmm and hugged her tightly. After more than 10 minutes, Mika Kito finally called. Xia, don't worry. Xiao Bao is fine. He's with me now." "Okay, Brother Shen. I'll leave Xiao Bao to you." "Do you want to talk to him?" Xia Dong bit her lip. "I don't think so. He probably doesn't want to talk to us yet. Tell him that we all love him very much, and we'll wait for him to come home." "Okay." After ending the call, Xia Dong let out a long sigh. "It's still early. Sleep a little longer." Bailey Han pulled her into his arms and rubbed his chin against her hair. During breakfast, Bailey Han told his family about Xiao Bao's current situation. Everyone was relieved. At the Sunshine Cafe, the weather was very good today. The sun shone through the window and sprinkled on Xia Dong, who was sitting by the window. She looked calm as she gently stirred the coffee in her hand and waited for the person she was supposed to meet. Ahu was sitting at the table behind her with a newspaper in his hand. He seemed to be reading it seriously, but in reality, all his attention was on Xia Dong. The crisp sound of high heels could be heard. Xiaodong looked up and saw a woman in a red trench coat walking over leisurely. Her wavy hair was draped over her shoulders, and she wore a pair of sunglasses. Her legs were long and slender, and she wore a pair of high-heeled shoes. Xiaodong had a feeling that this was Suzuki-sen Sakura. Sure enough, the woman walked over to Xiaodong and calmly sat across from her. She took off her sunglasses and revealed her beautiful face. She extended her right hand and smiled. "Hello, I'm Suzuki-sen Sakura." Xiaodong glanced at her right hand. Her beautiful nails were dyed red. She politely shook her hand. "Hello, Mrs. Bailey, I'll get straight to the point. I want my son back." Suzuki Chisakura raised her beautiful eyes slightly and said with a faint smile, "Mrs. Bailey, I'll get to the point." Xiaodong said calmly, "Miss Suzuki, I adopted Xiaobao according to legal procedures. He and I are already adoptive. Your relationship with Xiaobao no longer exists in the eyes of the law. I can completely ignore your unreasonable request." These days, Xiaodong had flipped through many relevant legal books and had even consulted lawyers. Suzuki-sen Sakura's expression changed slightly. Her smile was a little stiff. "Are you saying that you're not willing to return Xiaobao to me?" Xiaodong took a sip of coffee. "If you're really doing this for Xiaobao's sake, you shouldn't have made such a request. Xiaobao is living very happily in our home. I think that he's not willing to go back with you." "You're not Xiaobao. How do you know what he's thinking? I'm his biological mother. Blood is thicker than water. I believe that he'll definitely choose to be with me." Xiaodong's lips curved into a cold smile. "Blood is thicker than water. If that's the case, why did you abandon him back then? Do you know how much damage this will cause to him?" Suzuki-sen Sakura's fingers tightened around the coffee cup. Her knuckles turned white. "You don't understand what kind of discrimination a single mother will face. My parents even cut ties with me. At that time, I had no choice but to send him to the orphanage." Xiaodong's eyes moved slightly. After a moment of silence, she said, "I can understand the pain of having a child out of wedlock because I was born out of wedlock myself. However, I've never thought of abandoning my children. I'm telling you this not to blame you or anything. I just want to tell you that I love my children. For their sake, I don't mind being mocked. I think that Xiaobao being with me is the best choice for him. If you really love him, you should think about him." Suzuki-sen Sakura didn't look surprised. Before she decided to take back the children, she had done a lot of research on Xiaodong and the Bailey family. Of course, she also knew that she had a child out of wedlock. She said calmly, "As far as I know, the Bailey family has a rule that only the eldest son can inherit the family business. In the future, the Bailey Group and the Shenghao Group will belong to Bailey E. Xiaobao won't get anything. As for me, I'm already financially capable, and I only have one child. If Xiaobao marries me, he'll be able to inherit a large amount of money in the future." Xiaodong looked at her steadily. "Other than money, what else can you give him?" Suzuki-sen Sakura smiled. "I love him." Xiaodong smiled. "In that case, we'll let Xiaobao choose for himself." Suzuki-sen Sakura raised her eyebrows. "Okay, but I want to meet Xiaobao. You've already cultivated a relationship with him. I also need time to cultivate a relationship with him. This is only fair. This depends on Xiaobao. If he wants to meet you, I won't stop him. If you don't mind, I'd like to visit the Bailey family today and meet Xiaobao." Xiaodong pursed her lips. "I can't do it today. Xiaobao went abroad to visit his family." Suzuki-sen Sakura's eyes were filled with suspicion. "He was at home for the past 2 days. Why did he suddenly go abroad? Are you trying to play some tricks? We can escape for a while, but can we escape for a lifetime? This matter can't be solved by running away." "Xiaobao is only going abroad for a short time. He'll be back soon. Okay, I'll believe you for the time being." After Xiaodong returned home, she repeated her conversation with Suzuki-sen Sakura to old Madame Gu and the others. Old Madame Gu was quite indignant. "Since we've already established a legal relationship with Xiaobao, Suzuki-sen Sakura and Xiaobao are no longer legally related. Why did we agree to let her see Xiaobao? I say, it's better to keep her out. Bai Jinxiu comforted her. Mom, don't say such things out of anger. I think Xia Xia's approach is more appropriate. We can settle this through negotiation. This way, Xiaobao won't be hurt. Xiaobao is a very smart child. He will make a wise choice. If he really wants to reunite with his biological parents, we'll only make him hate us if we stop him, won't we? Old Madame Gu sighed. I know, but Xiaobao has run away from home. Does that mean he doesn't want to stay in this family anymore? I just can't bear to part with him. Xia Dong's gaze was firm. No, he won't. I believe in Xiaobao. Grandma, let's just give him some time. He'll come around. She had lived with Xiaobao for 5 years and knew him better than anyone else. He had run away from home because he couldn't accept his background, not because he hated the Bailey family. Beauty novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 322. Rome. The sun was setting in the west, and the willow branches swayed gently. The golden sunlight spread over the lake. Occasionally, the wind would blow, and the lake would ripple with broken golden light. Xiaobao sat quietly on the grass by the lake. His small figure was dyed with a layer of golden light by the setting sun. There was a fishing rod by his feet, and the long fishing line was hanging in the lake. For a long time, there was no movement. Mika Kito was wearing casual clothes. She put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked slowly behind him. She said calmly, fishing with a straight hook. Are you planning to learn from Jiang Xia? Xiaobao's little face was cold, and his eyes were cold. He said angrily, I don't want you to care. Mika Kito sat down beside him and looked down at him. Are you angry with me now? Xiaobao turned his head away. I didn't expect you to lie to me with Mom. Mika Kito turned his little head back. We didn't lie to you. We just hid some things from you. Xiaobao, we hid it from you because we didn't want you to get hurt. Xiaobao's pink face puffed up, and tears welled up in his eyes. If that woman didn't appear, were you planning to hide it from me forever? Yes. Mika Kito rubbed his hair. Because we never treated you as an outsider. You are Xia Xia and Bailey Han's son. Tears rolled down his face. He buried his head in his knees and sobbed. Why did they abandon me? Mika Kito knew that Xiaobao was referring to his biological parents. Mika Kito retracted her hand and had a manly conversation with him. Xiaobao, they must have their reasons for abandoning you. If you want to know the reason, talk to them face to face. Xiaobao buried his head between his legs. After a long silence, he said in a muffled voice, I'm going back to a city tomorrow. Okay, I just finished my business. I'll go back with you. Can I still call you Uncle Shun in the future? Mika Kito couldn't help but laugh. She rubbed his hair with her wide palm. Don't you dare. Uncle Shun. He looked up and grinned. There were still traces of tears on his face. Okay. Mika Kito responded and smiled. Let's go. It's almost dinner time. Don't let your grandfather worry. Okay. Xiaobao stood up and patted the grass on his little butt. His little mouth opened, revealing 2 cute dimples. Uncle Shun, I want to ride a big horse. How old are you? Why are you still riding a horse? Bai Tangshan squatted down, stretched out his hands, and placed them on both sides of his head. Come on up. Xiaobao sat on his shoulder. He held Xiaobao's legs firmly with both hands and said softly, sit tight. Don't fall. Got it. As Mika Kito slowly stood up, Xiaobao felt that he was very, very tall. His vision had also become wider, and his mood had also become brighter. He laughed loudly. Uncle Shun run. Kid sit tight. Mika Kito's lips curled up. She held onto his legs and started running on the grass. Ah, Xiaobao shouted loudly. His voice echoed throughout the valley. 2 days later, at the Bailey mansion, the old lady sat expressionlessly at the head of the table. Xia Dong sat beside her, and across from them sat Suzuki Qian Sakura. She was elegantly holding a teacup and gently sipping from it. She put down her teacup and smiled. Madam Mrs. Bailey, I'm here today to thank you for taking care of Xiaobao, and also to see Xiaobao. Miss Suzuki, before you see Xiaobao, we have to reach an agreement. will give Xiaobao the freedom to choose. Once he makes a choice, the other party can't force Xiaobao to change his mind. What do you think? Suzuki Qian Sakura laughed softly. Madam, I can't agree to this condition. I'm Xiaobao's biological mother. I have the right to take him away. If I encounter any obstacles, I'll ask for legal aid. Xia Dong's pupils constricted. She didn't expect this woman to be so cunning. She actually changed her mind. She had a feeling that this matter wouldn't be easily resolved. The old lady's expression changed. Back then, we agreed to let you meet Xiaobao because you agreed to let him choose. Since you've changed your mind, we won't abide by the agreement. Miss Suzuki, please leave. Suzuki Qian Sakura smiled faintly. She didn't seem to take it to heart. She stood up from her seat. Then I won't disturb you. The old lady's face darkened. Butler, see the guest out. Miss Suzuki, this way please. Suzuki Qian Sakura and the butler had already reached the entrance when hurried footsteps could be heard coming from upstairs. Soon they were downstairs. Xiaobao's small figure appeared at the top of the stairs. He shouted, "Wait a minute. Xiaobao, why are you down here?" Xia Dong hurriedly got up and walked towards him. Suzuki Qian Sakura slowly turned around and looked at the child standing at the top of the stairs. He was handsome and his fists were tightly clenched. Although he tried to maintain a calm expression, she could see the uneasiness in his eyes. She pursed her lips and smiled. Xiaobao, you already know who I am, don't you? Xiaobao's chest rose and fell rapidly. He gritted his teeth. I want to talk to you. Suzuki Qian Sakura looked at the old lady, whose face was ashen, and then at Xia Dong, who was in a daze. Finally she nodded. Okay. Xiaobao turned his head away and looked at the old lady and Xia Dong. Great-grandma, mommy, I want to talk to her. They had no choice but to nod. Xiaobao said coldly, come with me. He walked up the stairs with his short legs. Suzuki Qian Sakura pursed her lips and followed behind him. The two of them entered Xiaobao's room. Suzuki Qian Sakura looked at his room carefully. It was decorated in a very mature style, and didn't look like a child's room at all. She looked at Xiaobao. He was only 5 years old, but he was like an adult. He was calm and rational. She almost couldn't believe that this was her child. The mother and son sat facing each other, and the atmosphere was very tense. Suzuki Qian Sakura coughed to break the tense atmosphere. Xiaobao, mommy wants you to come back to Japan with me. Xiaobao stared at her coldly. Who is my father? Suzuki Qian Sakura was stunned. She smiled faintly. You'll see him soon. He didn't want to dwell on this question anymore. He clenched his fists tightly and his eyes were burning with anger. Why did you abandon me? She looked bitter. I got pregnant out of wedlock. My parents felt that it was an insult to their family and chased me out. I had nothing and couldn't support you. So you abandoned me. What about that man? Why didn't he take responsibility? Xiaobao gritted his teeth. She shook her head. He didn't know about your existence. Xiaobao, I know I've let you down, so let me make it up to you, okay? Come back to Japan with me. I'll love you well. She reached out and wanted to hug him. He pushed her away angrily. If you really loved me, you wouldn't have abandoned me. I was really at my wit's end at that time. Xiaobao looked at her viciously. You were at your wit's end? Aren't you still alive now? You just wanted to get rid of a burden like me. Now that you have money, you feel guilty. Or perhaps you suddenly realized that I'm useful so you want to get me back, right? Suzuki Qian Sakura's eyes widened. How can you say that about me? I'm your mother. He clenched his fists angrily and said angrily, why can't I? You haven't done your duty as a mother for even a day. Xiaobao, I'm sorry. Tears welled up in her eyes. She threw herself at him and hugged him tightly. Xiaobao, I really have my reasons. Forgive me, forgive me. Xiaobao's eyes were also filled with tears. He hit her back hard and shouted. When I learned to walk, it was my mother who helped me. When I learned to speak, it was my mother who taught me. When I was sick, it was my mother who took care of me. Where were you? You don't deserve to be my mother. Go away, I don't want you to care about me. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Suzuki Qian Sakura hugged him tightly and sobbed. Xiaobao, believe me, I'll love you well in the future. I'll make it up to you and give you everything. I won't believe you. Let go of me. Let go of me. Xiaobao was very emotional. He punched and kicked Suzuki-chan Sakura. Suzuki-chan Sakura had no choice but to let him go. Her face was full of tears. Xiaobao turned around and said in a sobbing voice, I don't want to see you now. Go away. She couldn't stop crying. Xiaobao, he shouted hysterically. Go away. Suzuki-chan Sakura hesitated for a moment and finally left in silence. The door closed. Xiaobao threw himself on the bed and buried himself in the blankets, crying loudly. After Suzuki-chan Sakura left the room, she stood in the corridor for a long time to control her emotions. She then fixed her appearance in the makeup box before going downstairs. Old Madame Sheng had already returned to her room to rest. Xia Dong was the only one in the living room. Suzuki-chan Sakura forced a smile. Xiaobao is a little emotional. I'll go back first. Xia Dong nodded slightly and walked her to the door. Suzuki-chan Sakura came out of the villa and walked to the parking lot. A red Ferrari approached from afar. She stood still and waited for the Ferrari to stop. Bailey Yin saw Suzuki-chan Sakura standing in front of her car from afar. He frowned but quickly relaxed. He got out of the car and walked towards her with a cold expression. Why are you here? Suzuki-chan Sakura didn't answer him. Instead, she turned around and glanced in the direction of Xiaobao's room on the second floor. She said calmly, Yin, do you want to know our son's name? Bailey Yun's expression changed and his voice was cold. What evidence do you have to prove that the child is mine? She turned around and looked at him. If you don't believe me, you can do a paternity test with our son. His thin lips were pursed and his gaze was terrifying. She walked closer to him and whispered in his ear, Yun, our son's name is Xiaobao. Awesome novel Songshu 566. Chapter 323. Bailey Yun's eyes were filled with anger, and his voice was bone-chillingly cold. Say that again. There was a look of vengeance on her face. I said our son's name is Xiaobao, and he's calling you second uncle now. Slap. Bailey Yun raised his hand and slapped her beautiful face. He pointed at her nose and said sternly, I'm warning you, don't talk nonsense. Xiaobao is my eldest brother's son. Ha ha ha. Suzuki-chan Sakura laughed hysterically, and tears fell from her eyes. Your whole family already knows that Xiaobao isn't Xia Dong's biological son, but you're still in the dark? Do you know why I'm here today? I'm here to reunite with Xiaobao. Bailey Yun felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his heart was about to stop beating. His fingers were trembling, and the blood in his body seemed to have frozen. He suddenly abandoned Suzuki-chan Sakura and rushed towards the villa. His entire body was emitting a malicious and cold aura, and he barged into the living room like a hurricane. Xia Dong was startled to see him suddenly appear and said, Yun, you're back. His face was ashen, and his eyes were fixed on her. Let me ask you, is Xiaobao your biological son? Xia Dong suddenly remembered that Bailey Yun did not know about Xiaobao's background, and pursed her lips. Xiaobao is a child I adopted. Bailey Yun's expression became more and more unsightly. Who is his biological mother? Suzuki-chan Sakura. His body suddenly froze. It's her, it's really her. No, it's impossible, I don't believe it. He turned and ran upstairs, his footsteps messy and hurried, as if there was a ferocious beast chasing after him. Xia Dong took a few steps forward and asked worriedly, Yun, what's wrong? What responded to her was the sound of his increasingly hurried footsteps. Bailey Yun rushed to Xiaobao's room and knocked on the door. Xiaobao, open the door. Xiaobao was crying in his blanket. He did not want to see anyone at all. When he heard him knocking on the door, he curled up into a ball and covered his ears tightly. Xiaobao, hurry up and open the door. Bailey Yun anxiously kicked the door. Xiaobao ignored him and continued to cry under the blanket. Bailey Yun was angry and anxious. He shouted for the housekeeper, took the spare key, and opened the door. He immediately saw Xiaobao curled up into a ball on the bed. He quickly stepped forward and pulled the blanket off her body. With both hands, he scooped Xiaobao up from the bed. What are you doing? Let me go. Xiaobao was in a bad mood. He was suddenly pulled out of the quilt, and was so angry that he punched and kicked him. Behave yourself. Bailey Yun carried him on his shoulder and slapped his little butt twice. He ran downstairs as fast as he could. Where are you taking me? Hurry up and let me go. In the blink of an eye, Bailey Yun ran downstairs with Xiaobao on his shoulder. Bailey Yun did not say a word and only focused on running forward. Xia Dong heard the commotion and quickly ran forward to stop him. Yun, what are you doing? It's none of your business. I'm taking Xiaobao somewhere. Bailey Yun said coldly. He held the punching and kicking Xiaobao tightly and walked straight out of the villa. Mom, save me. I don't want to go with him. Xiaobao shouted as he pounded Bailey Yun's shoulder. He was very fast. Xia Dong could only trot to catch up. Yun, let's sit down and talk. Don't scare the child. Bailey Yun suddenly stopped and stared coldly at Xiaobao. Xiaobao, do you want to know who your biological father is? Xiaobao was stunned. He said again, if you want to, then come with me. After saying this, he continued to walk forward. Xiaobao did not struggle anymore. Xia Dong wanted to chase after him, but Xiaobao said, Mom, it's okay. I'll go with second uncle. She could only stop and watch as Bailey Yun threw Xiaobao into the Ferrari. Bailey Yun took Xiaobao to a paternity test hospital. He carried Xiaobao and barged into an office. He said to the doctor, who looked surprised, we want to do a paternity test. Xiaobao turned his head and stared at Bailey Yun. His little face was filled with astonishment. Bailey Yun pursed his thin lips and looked very upset. The doctor quickly said, do you have an appointment? Bailey Yun said sternly, cut the crap. I want to do it now. He exuded a cold aura. His eyes were red and fierce. The doctor had an illusion that he was like a ferocious beast that could pounce on him and tear him apart at any time. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and smiled. Okay, please leave a sample. Blood, hair, oral mucosa. Choose one. Bailey Yun pulled out a few strands of hair from his head and put them in the small bag in the nurse's hand. He lowered his head and stared at Xiaobao with his dark eyes. He said in a deep voice, pull out a few strands of your hair. Xiaobao was already confused by his own guess. Without any words, he pulled out a few strands of his hair and put them in another small bag. The doctor said, Sir, please register now. We will come out with the test results in a week. Bailey Yun put Xiaobao down on the ground. He filled in the form and asked, I will only give you 2 days. I want the results in 2 days. This is impossible. Bailey Yun slammed the pen on the table. 100,000. Give me the results in 2 days. If you can't do it, I will change to another hospital immediately. The doctor picked up the registration form and saw the 3 words Bailey Yun written on it. He suddenly thought of the biggest Bailey family in a city. His heart thumped, and he quickly squeezed out a smile. Yes. We will come out with the test results as soon as possible. Bailey Yun stared at him coldly. This matter must be kept secret. If you dare to leak a word, your appraisal institution will be closed down. Understood. We will keep it secret. The doctor was more and more certain that the other party was from the Bailey family. Otherwise, who would have such a big tone? Coming out of the office, Bailey Yun walked in front. Xiaobao lowered his head and walked behind him. The 2 of them, one big and one small, did not speak. After Bailey Yun walked out of the appraisal center, he stood by the roadside and waited for 2 to 3 minutes, but he didn't hear Xiaobao's footsteps. He suddenly turned around and saw Xiaobao standing 10 meters away from him with his head lowered. Although he couldn't see the expression on Xiaobao's face, he could feel the deep sorrow in Xiaobao's actions. Bailey Yun's heart ached. He pursed his lips and raised his voice. How long are you going to dawdle there? Xiaobao ignored him. He simply squatted down and hugged his knees tightly with his arms. It was an action of self-protection after being abandoned. Bailey Yun quickly walked to his side and stared at him condescendingly. He tried his best to soften his voice. Xiaobao, get up. Let's go home. Xiaobao's tears fell and hit the concrete floor. They quickly gathered into a small pool of water. He sobbed and said, That's not my home. What nonsense are you talking about? Bailey Yun suddenly pulled him up from the ground and hugged him. That will always be your home. He burst into tears. He cried until he was hoarse and heartbroken. Bailey Yin had never coaxed a child. Although he had been with Xiao Yi for a long time, Xiao Yi had never cried before. Thus, when faced with the sad and crying Xiao Bao, he was a little helpless and did not know how to comfort him. He could only pat his back and whisper, "Don't cry." He cried even louder, as if he wanted to pour out all his grievances with tears. Bailey Yin did not feel good either. If the test results showed that Xiao Bao was really his child, he did not know how to face him. "Don't cry." Bailey Yin gently patted his back. After a while, Xiao Bao finally stopped crying. Bailey Yin wiped away the tears on his face, patted his head and whispered, "Do you want to go to the amusement park?" Xiao Bao nodded silently. "Okay, let's go to the amusement park." Bailey Yin put him in the Ferrari. There were many people in the amusement park. They were all parents playing with their children. Bailey Yin was worried that he would be separated from Xiao Bao, so he simply carried him. The two of them shuttled through the crowd for a long time before lining up to get on the roller coaster. The two of them sat in the same carriage. After the roller coaster started, it rushed out of the tunnel at an extremely fast speed. They climbed and rolled on the steel tube track, and all the blood in his body surged. Xiao Bao was initially dispirited, but in the end stimulated by the strong sense of weightlessness. He screamed with the people around him. The two of them got off the roller coaster and saw the sorry state of the people around them. They laughed loudly. Bailey Yin rubbed Xiao Bao's messy hair. He pointed to a man bent over and vomited next to him and said, "Fortunately, you didn't end up like him." Xiao Bao raised his chin arrogantly. "I went on the roller coaster when I was 4 years old. Do you think I'm that useless?" Bailey Yin laughed. "Who was screaming so loudly just now?" Xiao Bao snorted twice. "You were screaming louder than me just now." Bailey Yin was deliberately trying to make him happy. After being choked by him, he was not displeased. He patted his little head and said, "What else do you want to do?" "Bungee jumping." Bailey Yin's mouth twitched. "Little brat, you haven't even grown your teeth yet. What bungee jumping? Change it." Xiao Bao bared his teeth and glared at him. "You're discriminating against my age." Bailey Yin also glared at him. "Your bones haven't fully developed yet. Bungee jumping can easily cause your bones to fall off. Be a good boy and change it." Xiao Bao's beautiful eyes darted around. Suddenly, there was a flash of light. "Then let's go to the horror town." Bailey Yin's face darkened. "What's there to see in the horror town?" "Change it. I heard that ghosts can jump out of the horror town to scare people. It's so fun. Some of my classmates have been here before. Let's go in and take a look." Xiao Bao blinked his big eyes and acted cute. Hearing this, Bailey Yin could not agree to it. No, such a young child. What if he gets scared by the horror town? Xiao Bao stared at him for a while and suddenly laughed. "Second uncle, are you scared?" "Scared? What a joke. Why would I be scared?" Bailey Yin patted his chest righteously. "Your second uncle has the most guts. Then let's go to the horror town. If you don't agree, it means that you're a coward." Xiao Bao looked at him proudly with an "I've seen through you" expression. Bailey Yin gritted his teeth and rubbed his cheeks. "Okay, let's go. I'm not scared of you." He held Xiao Bao's hand and walked forward. Xiao Bao covered his mouth and laughed secretly. So second uncle was afraid of ghosts. Ha ha ha. The horror town was not just for show. It was so scary. The ghosts and monsters here weren't rigid stone sculptures, they could move. In the dark room, the sound effects of horror movies were playing. From time to time, white ghosts would float above or behind them. There were also ghosts with long hair combing their long hair in front of a mirror. The mirror reflected a bloody face. Bailey Yin was about to vomit. He held Xiao Bao's hand tighter and tighter. Cold sweat broke out on his back. He quickened his pace, intending to get out of here as soon as possible. Suddenly, an arm patted him heavily on the shoulder. His body trembled. He did not dare to look back and said with a trembling voice, "Xiao Bao, look. What's behind me?" There was no response. "Xiao Bao." Bailey Yin's heart tightened. He could not care about anything else. He quickly turned around and lowered his head. Xiao Bao was standing in front of him. He was holding his right hand, and his left hand was holding a small snake. The small snake was still wiggling. Bailey Yin shouted anxiously, "Xiao Bao, throw it away." Xiao Bao chuckled. "Second uncle, don't be nervous. This is fake. Look, doesn't it look real?" Bailey Yin bent down to look at the snake in his hand. It was indeed fake. He relaxed and could not help but grumble. "Of all the things to play with, you had to play with a snake. You almost scared me to death." As he spoke, he tugged at Xiao Bao's arm. "Let's go. Let's get out of here." After taking a few steps, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. "Xiao Bao, who was patting my shoulder just now?" Xiao Bao was very surprised. Did someone pat your shoulder? I didn't see anyone." Bailey Yun's body froze. All the hair on his body stood on end. He felt that the place was gloomy and cold. He looked around suspiciously. There was no one. Could there really be ghosts in the horror city? Bailey Yun was frightened by the thought that appeared in his mind. He suddenly bent down, picked up Xiao Bao, and ran out quickly. "Second uncle, what are you doing? Don't run." Xiao Bao was held tightly by his arms. He could barely breathe. "This place is gloomy. It's too strange. Let's get out of here quickly." Bailey Yun hurriedly explained and continued to run forward. Don't run. There are no ghosts." Xiao Bao knew that his timid second uncle must have been frightened by the hand that patted him just now. Hey Bailey Yun, don't run. It's me." Suddenly, a familiar voice entered Bailey Yun's ears. He held Xiao Bao in his arms and stopped. He saw a white figure running towards them. "Bailey Yun, it's me, Li Duo Bao. I didn't expect you to be so timid." Bailey Yun was so angry that he almost vomited blood. 10 minutes later, the three of them were sitting in a hot drink shop in the amusement park. Bailey Yun's face was gloomy like the sky before a storm. He used a straw to poke the lemon in his lemon tea. He completely ignored Li Duo Bao and Xiao Bao. Come and see. Shimu 799. Chapter 324. Li Duo Bao and Xiao Bao looked at each other. Both of them stuck out their tongues at the same time and made an expression that said, "We're in trouble." Li Duo Bao's round apple face scrunched up and she said pitifully, "Bailey Yun, don't be angry. It's my fault. I shouldn't have teamed up with Xiao Bao to scare you." It turned out that Li Duo Bao had recognized Bailey Yun when she was playing in the City of Horrors. She wanted to prank him and tease him, so she signaled Xiao Bao not to expose her. Then, she purposely patted Bailey Yun's shoulder and hid behind a stone statue. Hence, when Bailey Yun turned around, he didn't see anything. Bailey Yun poked his lemon hard and ignored her. Li Duo Bao pouted and turned to look at Xiao Bao. She winked and said, "What should I do? He's ignoring me." Xiao Bao shrugged and sighed silently. "I sympathize with you, but I don't know what to do either." Li Duo Bao bit her lip awkwardly. A few seconds later, she smiled happily and said, "Bailey Yun, what else do you want to play? Let's play together." Xiao Bao was drinking a drink and almost choked by her jumping nerves. Bailey Yun looked up and glanced at her coldly. His tone was extremely displeased. "I'm still angry." "Oh, I'm sorry. Don't be angry. A man has to be magnanimous." Li Duo Bao put her hands together and smiled ingratiatingly. "How about this? Let's have lunch together. I'll treat you as an apology, okay?" Bailey Yun glared at her. "You still want to eat hot pot?" She quickly waved her hands. "No hot pot, no hot pot. You can eat whatever you want," he said coldly, looking down on her. "Really? Aren't you afraid that we'll be greedy and make you go bankrupt? It's just a meal. We won't go bankrupt." Li Duo Bao laughed foolishly. Xiao Bao could not help but facepalm. He had a premonition that a little white rabbit had jumped into a trap. Sure enough, Bailey Yun suddenly grinned. He put down the straw in his hand and nodded contentedly. "Well, you treat us at noon. The location is Century Brocade." Century Brocade was the best hotel in a city. The dishes there were ridiculously expensive. Li Duo Bao almost fell on the table and looked at Bailey Yun with tears in his eyes. He looked very pitiful. Bailey Yun's lips curled into an elegant and charming smile. His voice was extremely gentle. What's wrong? Li Duobao was speechless. He pursed his lips and said, It's nothing. Century brocade it is. She really wanted to slap her own mouth right now. She would really go bankrupt from eating this meal. Because she was worried about her wallet, Li Duobao wasn't interested in the following entertainment activities. When Bailey Yun saw this, the corner of his lips curled up. This girl's emotions were written all over her face, and it was really fun to tease her. He was completely unaware that the scene of him peeking at Li Duobao had fallen into Xiao Bao's eyes. When they came out of the amusement park, it was already lunchtime. Bailey Yun drove while Li Duobao accompanied Xiao Bao in the back seat. She thought that Bailey Yun would spontaneously drive the car to Century Brocade, so she didn't pay attention to the route. Instead, she played a game with Xiao Bao. When the car stopped, she looked out of the window and said in surprise, This doesn't seem to be Century Brocade. Bailey Yun, you're going the wrong way. Fool, do you really think I'm going to kill you? Bailey Yun opened the car door for her and smiled. Hurry up and get out of the car. The food in this private restaurant is very good. Oh, okay. Li Duobao jumped out of the car first and reached out to carry Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao refused. No need. I can get out by myself. Xiao Bao jumped out of the car and walked in front like a little adult with her chest puffed out and her head raised. Li Duobao looked at Xiao Bao and then at Bailey Yun. You and your brother must look a lot alike. Bailey Yun was surprised. Why do you say that? She giggled. Because Xiao Bao looks a lot like you. In the end, it's still because you look a lot like your brother, isn't it? Bailey Yun's expression froze. Let's go. Xiao Bao has already gone in. In the private room, Bailey Yun and the other two had just finished ordering when Xia Dong called. She sounded a little worried. Yin, are you guys okay? We're fine. I took Xiao Bao to the amusement park. We're at the restaurant now, and we're planning to eat. Okay, I got it. Then you guys eat. I'll hang up first. Bailey Yun glanced at Xiao Bao. It's your mommy. Xiao Bao said, Oh. Li Duobao realized that the atmosphere between them was a little strange. Her gaze shifted between the two of them, and finally landed on Bailey Yun. She smiled and said, Bailey Yun, when are you going back to New York? Maybe we can even be on the same plane. Bailey Yun took a sip of tea and said indifferently, The time hasn't been set yet. There's something I need to deal with. Oh, I see. There was a moment of silence and the atmosphere was a little awkward. Xiao Bao suddenly looked up at Li Duobao and an innocent and cute smile appeared on her little face. Sister, do you have a boyfriend? Li Duobao smiled embarrassedly. Not yet. Sister, you're so beautiful. There must be a lot of people pursuing you. The little guy's eyes were bright and full of gossip. Bailey Yun suddenly put down his teacup and looked at Li Duobao, obviously waiting for her answer. That. Li Duobao rubbed her nose awkwardly. You can say that. Sometimes on the plane I meet some passengers who give me their business cards. Sister, you're so popular. Why don't you date them? Bailey Yun's eyes moved and his thin lips pursed. I don't think I feel anything. Li Duobao had a complicated expression on her face. She was a little distressed and a little confused. I don't know what's wrong. I just don't feel anything. Oh. Xiao Bao nodded in understanding. Her bright eyes glanced at Bailey Yun, who seemed to be deep in thought. She had already guessed something. The waiter served the dishes and the topic didn't continue. After they were full, Li Duobao called the waiter over and was about to pay the bill. However, Bailey Yun was one step ahead of her and handed the bank card to the waiter. Li Duobao didn't want to. She took the card and was about to return it to him. Didn't we agree that I'll treat you? Stop fooling around. You can treat me next time. Bailey Yun handed the card back to the waiter. It didn't look good pushing it back and forth. Li Duobao didn't insist and put away her card. All right then, I'll treat you next time. Xiao Bao cast a disdainful glance at Bailey Yun. It was that simple. He had laid the foundation for the next date. A love expert was indeed a love expert. In the next second, Xiao Bao frowned because he thought of a serious problem. If his second uncle was really his father, Then what was going on between him and Suzuki-Chian Sakura? Should he support his biological parents being together? Or should he support Bailey Yun and Li Duobao being together? Damn it, why was he thinking so much? If Bailey Yun was really his father, he should hate him. Why did he care so much about him? After eating, they strolled around the streets. The two adults and the child looked like a family of three. When Li Duobao saw the ice cream shop, she held Xiaobao's hand and ran forward quickly. The two of them leaned on the glass counter and stared at the beautiful ice cream inside. Then they turned around in unison, blinked their beautiful big eyes, and said in unison, "I want to eat ice cream." Bailey Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Li Duobao, how old are you? You're still acting like a child. And you, Xiaobao, why are you eating ice cream in the middle of winter? Be careful not to catch a cold." Li Duobao and Xiaobao looked at each other and nodded firmly, completely ignoring Bailey Yun. Li Duobao took out a bill from her wallet and said, "2 ice creams, 1 strawberry flavor, 1. She looked down at Xiaobao. "Xiaobao, what flavor do you want?" Xiaobao smiled sweetly. "Pineapple flavor." "1 strawberry flavor, 1 pineapple flavor, thank you." Li Duobao handed the bill to the cashier. Hey, you two, how dare you ignore me?" Bailey Yun took a few steps forward and stared at the two of them with an unhappy expression. Next to them, an old lady who was buying ice cream with her grandson said with a smile, "Young man, if your wife and child want to eat ice cream, let them eat it. It's okay to eat it once in a while." Li Duobao's face turned red and she stuttered as she explained, "Auntie, I'm not wife." Bailey Yun suddenly interrupted her. On his handsome face, there was a gentle smile. "Since you want to eat it, then eat it. Auntie is right. It's okay to eat it once in a while. That's right, girl. Your husband is so handsome, ha." The old lady laughed boldly. Li Duobao's cheeks were red. She wanted to explain, but Bailey Yun had already taken the ice cream from the cashier and put it in her mouth. "Wife, your ice cream." "Oh, the two of you are so sweet." The old lady smiled like a flower. "Auntie, we'll be leaving first. I hope you're in a good mood today." Bailey Yun smiled brightly at the old lady. He dragged Li Duobao and Xiaobao out of the ice cream shop in a hurry. "What are you doing?" Outside the ice cream shop, Li Duobao shook off Bailey Yun's hand and said angrily, "Why didn't you let me explain? Why did you let people misunderstand?" Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. There was a mischievous smile on his lips. "Explain? Do you think it's necessary to explain so much to someone you don't know?" "Of course it's necessary. I'm an unmarried girl. I was misunderstood to be married. I also have such a big child. Shouldn't I explain?" Bailey Yun's face turned ugly. "Do you think that Xiaobao and I have insulted your reputation? Do you discriminate against single men with children?" "Of course not. Bailey Yun, can you be more reasonable? We're not talking about the same thing, okay? I'm the one being unreasonable. I shouldn't have pestered you. Are you satisfied now?" I don't want to talk to you. You're pissing me off." Xiaobao licked her ice cream silently. She did not intend to get involved in their boring quarrel. Awesome novel Xingwu 799, that you're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.